everyone, and welcome back to another Friday night here on the Saints broadcast. I'm Fundy, joined by Jobin once again. We're back for some League of Legends action, this time getting back to that Aegis Champions League. You know, we haven't seen it in a few weeks here with all of the collegiate playoffs and everything kind of just taking precedent here on the stream, to be honest. I mean, we've seen so many amazing finals and just moving into finals coming through for a lot of these college leagues. NACE pretty well wrapped up all together here, but we're moving into the semifinals here of the Aegis Champions League. And we got an interesting matchup today, Jobin.
Yeah, two teams that are familiar with each other. It is going to be UCI taking on, obviously, the St. Clair Saints varsity team. And UCI, it's a team that I believe they beat us in either NACE or CLOL last year. They beat us in some high-ranking competition. We knocked them off, I believe, 2-0 earlier in the year in the NACL. We may have played them again in the second open qualifier split, not exactly sure. But two teams, lots of history together. And if history is any indicator for the future results, the Saints have been on a the last 2 to 3 weeks. The team is playing, I don't want to say flawlessly, but it's the closest thing to. They've been coming together at the right time. We've been getting Akashi and Rockboom and Ricky for tons of interviews and stuff. So lots of fun content, lots of fun games that we've been having. And obviously now we're in the playoffs for the Aegis League. I think there is a decent amount of prize pool on the line for the end of the league. So put some money in your back pocket. It starts in the quarterfinals right now. Best of 3.
Yeah, and it's awesome just to kind of get in here. Obviously, we've got a collegiate matchup here tonight, but this league has shown us a ton of teams that, we typically don't get to see on the broadcast just because we're so collegiate focused, obviously around here. But it's nice to come in and just, see some of these rosters that new faces from the amateur scene that don't really cross over into the collegiate, although there now is a lot more crossover in many games. It's
becoming the same thing. In 2 years' time, there will be no separation, I don't think.
I have to agree with you, honestly. I think it just needs to take a step to get there in the end. But we should be getting into draft soon. I know they're finishing that up just about now. But other than that, I mean, we've seen this matchup, like you said. We've seen it before. We've seen it a couple, I want to say 1 to 2 months back.
It was like 2.5 months,
I think it was starting of February, end of January was the last time.
Early,
possibly.
Damn, NACL was a while ago. Yeah, NACL quals were actually a lot longer ago than I thought. We've been doing a lot of streams the last couple months, but two teams, they are familiar. Last time, though, we actually thought of this play earlier before we went on the air. It was funny, the Saints last time, level 1, started Ricky on Scion. He went to the bot lane, started with the fully charged Q. The Saints got away with some cheeky little early games, so curious if they're going to try that stuff again. We know, we talked about, Mike Young being UCI's jungler, very high active, likes to play things like the Grave, wants to, kind of get around the jungle nice and early, try to get off to those early advantages. The Saints, though, they've been trying a lot more, I guess, creative plays, a lot more dives, a lot more set early plays. They've been doing a lot better job of having that well-rounded game, playing for the objectives and all the rest of it. But, as you can see on the screen, draft is underway.
Yeah, and going back to what you kind of talked about in terms of just the plays and the style of the team, it's this Saints team that had been very bot lane focused, very get rock boom ahead. Now, Akashi's kind of mitigating that all across the map as just being this solid mid laner that is rarely ever behind.
That plays everything.
At that point, now the Saints have just been, they've almost been drafting towards more very team fight heavy comps. They're looking to hit these big ultimates, whether it be the Sejuani, whether it's a Gragas setup from Ricky. We've been seeing a lot of Gragas. Obviously, we do see the Olaf ban from UC Irvine coming in first. That's one that Ricky has been playing non-stop these last few patches, and it's been working out very, very well for him. Yeah,
and watching a lot of LEC and some of the LCS the last couple weeks, Olaf has been running rampant. He has been very high on the ban list, very high on that priority list, just lots of sustain, able to run people down through towers, pop that ghost, pretty much impossible to stop, just no CC, and especially we're in the meta now is like you said, very team fight centered, very CC chain heavy, fight around objectives. Olaf ignores all of that, plays very well into things like the Maokai, a lot of these other champs that Sejuani, just not able to lock him down, able to run around, start hacking up that armor. So first couple bans, nothing surprising. Ezreal, I'm guessing UCI probably has a very strong Ezreal player. I think we actually did see it in the last series. Gorka played Ezreal,
Gorka's their ADC,
pretty
if
sure.
I'm not mistaken. I remember that name from the bot
I think he
lane,
played Ezreal,
regardless.
I think he did play Ezreal, but and then Rockboom Tristana, shocker.
Big shocker. I mean, Olaf, Tristana, something like, I think we've seen a ton of Sedge bans actually towards the Saints. Just with, honestly, both junglers playing it, whether it be Maddie or Alonso.
Sedge is just annoying.
Sedge, annoying, amazing setups for the team fight. You pair it up with a player like Ricky, who's constantly playing these aggressive melee champs, and you can stack up the stun from Sejuani very, very fast as well. Elise going to be banned out from the Saints. This is more, I want to say this is also gonna be a dig towards UC Irvine in general, at least not super prevalent, but at the same time has had a few recent patches where they have kind of just sprung up in popularity, especially in solo queue, can get really strong. But I think Elise in a lot of these, you know, 5-man, these team games in a lot of these leagues, it doesn't work as well as just in that solo queue environment.
I will say for pro play as well, I think she got buffed. I know she did actually get, I think damage on her spiders got slightly nerfed because I think 2.5-3 months ago she was literally first pick, first ban every single pro play game, and then she sort of fell out of the meta. Actually, that's true. I think I've seen her play maybe once or twice the last 3 weeks, and the 2 times she was played, she kind of got stomped because it's one of those champs, right? You're expecting a good early game, you're expecting a very high damage output, but if you get caught out, you can get picked off very easily. If you don't get that early lead, it's a champ that's not going to scale quite as well as some other options. It's going to make it a lot more difficult as the game goes on. So Elise ban, nothing too surprising. Gragas going to be banned as well. Gragas, you know, basically top mid jungle flex right now, typically seen in the mid lane, but we have been seeing a lot of it in the top side or in that jungle potentially. So no bomba for this game at least.
Yeah, no Bumba to be found. Most likely in the top lane there. We've seen Ricky kind of just take on this tank.
Yeah, Akashi's not. I don't think Akashi's a Gragas player.
Don't get me wrong. We have actually seen the Alonso. He will pick up the Gragas and actually just go Night Harvester into, I believe, Shadow Flame is the second item in that build. And you're just kind of blowing up carries left and right. And then, of course, you get those nice big hitting Bombas with the damage. Final ban gonna be Jace. Now, Saints have definitely done their homework here because these 3 bans are not what I expect to see up against most teams right now, just considering the current state of things, considering the meta in general, the kind of champs that I'm seeing being played both in collegiate and in pro play. And it's surprising that we see, you know, a ton of these super strong champs like a Varus still on here. I mean, on-hit Varus still very strong in my opinion, and I've seen people still build that lethality. I mean, it's still Varus.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm a little bit surprised to see Varus getting first pick, because to be fair, right, we know collegiate and pro play aren't necessarily a one-to-one, but I've been seeing Kennen getting first picked, saw it get first picked in LPL. Saw it got first picked LPL for like a month straight. Even in LEC now, it has become the first pick, because Kennen, basically, if you don't play like Sion or 1 or 2 other top laners, Kennen basically smashes the lane and is one of the best team fighting top laners in the entire game. So we've been seeing Kennen as one of those prio top lane picks. So not sure we're going to see it today. The Olaf is something that can play pretty well into it. But Udyr picked up first for the Saints. We know Maddie loves to pilot this champ. He's done it very well so far. Lots of sustain, lots of high defense. They're just basically running people down, trying to knock them, get those stuns. But yeah, first pick Varus. Haven't seen as much Varus recently, but definitely a champ that still has value. And Milio, just getting freshly out of quarantine, I believe the last week or so, have been seeing the Saints play around a little bit in some scrims and stuff. So it's a champ that still has a lot to be figured out, but any champion that can add attack range, something like a Jinx or something like that, can go very well with it.
I'm also looking at the fact that Caitlyn is still on the board. Caitlyn,
I would pick Jinx over Kate right now. Jinx
I do agree with it, but there's something about that Milio Caitlyn lane that, like,
the range
for most people, for most characters pre-6, you're just getting absolutely dogged on every single time that range boost is up from Milio. He puts that up. The Caitlyn gets to play like they're playing almost like a Senna support and just start autoing and proc those headshots from half the lane away. Kog'Maw got a huge buff to their passive.
But it's the passive.
It's the passive, right? But it's something where, how many times are you in a fight with Kog'Maw and you're like, oh, if the passive did a little more damage, they're dead. Now it's more consistent in that sense. I've seen people picking up the Kog'Maw. Still an interesting pick, to say the least, but I want to say there's a reasoning behind it.
Yeah, Kog'Maw, right? Lots of range. I still think it's a solid ADC. Will still get you some damage just right. This is the thing with collegiate pro play and some of these other leagues. The picks just are kind of all over the place. It could be a pocket pick. It might synergize really well with the team comp they're trying to play. Ashe Milio, though, I have to imagine they're looking for that level 1 push. If you're playing an Ashe lane, you are guaranteed looking for the push, trying to get that shoved under tower. Milio going to give you that little extra bit of sustain that range. Cassio picked up in the mid lane. Ahri immediately going to be the answer. So, 2 mid laners we have been seeing a lot recently. Ahri, I would say, maybe slightly more, but Cassio, lots and lots of damage. Hit those power spikes later in the game. She can pump out a ton of damage with that E. She plays very well into a lot of these comps. And having that miasma throw on the ground, you can ground all these enemies, try to slow them down. So just, again, solid mid lane pick right now. And a lot of top lane bans coming through at the end there. With Lissandra getting banned first for UCI. Then we're going to see Sion, Cassante, and Set. So a lot of tanks off the board. I wonder what the Saints, maybe something like the Gwen top for them or something like that. I'm not sure exactly, because if you ban away Cassante, I'm not sure. Got some options.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and it will be that final pick. So presumably Ricky here is going to be able to counter pick this Renekton. Possibly the Wukong as well. I mean, there's a few different options here, but you're assuming that Wukong is headed into the jungle. You're assuming you're picking up against this Renekton here. I'm interested to see what Ricky actually finalizes here as his pick, because right now I'm looking at the Saints side, and as much as I am seeing the makings of a great comp here, you have a ton of utility, you need some damage, and the Ornn, will it be the right question? Because here's the thing, that Ashe not going to be online for 2 to 3 items, and at that point, Cassio's kind of in the same boat. So now you're playing for late game. You're playing for your Milio to be, you know, supporting this Ashe in those super late team fights, and then you have your Ornn there to just add up onto those mythics and be that extra scaling for each of your players there.
I will say the one thing, UC Irvine's comp is a little bit squishy. The front line basically is going to be Renekton. Wukong, not really going to be the best front line, especially when you're trying to cyclone in and out of those spots. But, so I guess for the Saints, maybe you don't need as much damage, but I would have maybe liked to see the Kennen go into that top lane. I mean, lots of damage. I feel like Kennen would play pretty well into Renekton. You have the range advantage. Once you hit that ultimate at level 6, you can just fly all over the place with that huge lightning burst. So, definitely a slightly different draft than what we expected, but right, these players know what champs they're comfortable on. And Ornn, to be fair, Ornn is probably the stereotypical play safe, scales like hell, just super, super clean. This will work in any single team comp pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of just how it is.
Yeah.
In the end, it's a super
safe, good pick.
It's a safe pick, in my opinion, and very, very strong. Now, you're pretty much just sitting up there as an island in the top lane.
See you at 12 minutes.
See you at 12 minutes.
Unleash TP
unless he finds a couple solo kills with this Renekton, because here's the thing about Ornn. Ornn can output damage, and nobody else can tell me otherwise. I believe that Ornn is one of the strongest in the top lane. In those early levels, he gets that brittle on you with the W, he gets the empowered auto, he's constantly proccing grasp when he's in fights with you, and then once you hit 6, he has this super long range knockup that you realistically have to burn a sum to dodge at that point, as long as he's, you know, in some kind of position to really hit that. Obviously, you can shut down the R in other ways from the Ornn, but realistically, you're burning a dash or 2 if you're this Renekton, or possibly a flash if he's timing that one right.
Yeah, the Ornn and the Gragas kind of play the same role right now in the meta. It's that team fighting comp, that same big AoE knockup. You have a lot, you know, not the most tanky on the Gragas side, but you have a decent damage output, like you said, right with Ornn. If you land that full combo, it is a lot of damage. You can actually find some pretty decent trades, but trading into Renekton always can be tricky, especially once you get to that Gore Drinker. You have to be careful about that HP bar getting filled up. But the Saints right now, both of these lanes, definitely looking for the push. And by the way, it is Kog'Maw support. I didn't even clue until now that's what it was going to be, but that is
AP.
That is where we are at. Yeah, so I guess they're just going for, definitely going for the push with this comp. That is all damage.
Yeah, you do see the spell.
No front line. I will say, that means no front line guaranteed.
Hail of Blades as well, which is interesting. I'm assuming that's just kind of for that early poke. I mean, you saw how much they got onto Rock Boom there. Just a quick 1, 2, 3 with those auto attacks. You stack your W on top of that, and you could have actually very strong bursts for these early levels coming from this Kog'Maw. Thing is you're just going to be playing towards that AP eventually, maybe like something like a Nashor's Tooth, possibly.
Nashor's is really broken. I can absolutely see it.
I'm very interested to see what this Kog'Maw goes, because this is like fresh to me, right? I've seen Kog'Maw support picks before, but rarely in a game of this caliber, and rarely, you know, as just this wild pick. Hail of Blades, I'm interested to see what, like, how that's going to work out and kind of almost what the intention is there. You do see Mike Young trying to get close into this blue buff, but he's going to be warded off by this bot lane. Trying to move in. Will he find this Smite Steal? There's the Blast Cone as well from Cinnamon Bread. That's a blue buff going over to Mike Young. That's a steal. Charm not going to land onto Maddie, and should be a disengage here as we see Rock Boom and Biscotti head down. This is what I'm telling you. We panned a top lane for half a second, and Elated is getting 1v1 out of his mind by this Ornn.
Yeah, Saints are going to have to be careful of this bot lane push, though. This is going to be a lot of damage, and honestly, I can safely say I don't think the Saints saw a Kog'Maw Varus bot lane coming through. Varus hasn't been picked up quite as much recently, but still tons of value once he gets to that level 6. Those Chains of Corruption, nice little single target CC, so could absolutely find those isolated targets. Maddie, though, and Mike Young getting after it early in the mid game here. Mike Young, though, finding a lot of damage. Maddie trying to treat things back. Akashi's on the way, though. Mike Young is going to take the clone, is going to get out of dodge. Akashi just not going to get get there in time. But we talked about how early Mike Young wants to get the action going. He wants to push the pace. He wants to steal away some of these camps, make sure this bot lane push stays intact. Ricky chipping away at the top side right now. CS about even, has a slight XP advantage, but it's top lane. Nothing really. Although last time I did say, oh, top lane, nothing's going on. Then Ricky survives like a 2-man dive, gets a double kill, and then everything goes down on the top lane. So I guess we'll see after.
Yeah, that's the Ricky classic right there. You think you can dive Ricky. He ends up with 2 kills, Triumph procs. He's half health after that. And there it is in the end. But Mike Young is going to be, as you had mentioned, kind of just the aggressor for the side of UC Irvine this game, and he's going to be the one to kind of start up most of these plays. You're going to see Cinnamon Bread here specifically in the mid lane, definitely going to follow Mike Young towards that top side, towards that bot side, and just kind of, you know, be with him on those roams, considering Ahri, you know, kind of squishy in that sense, and this Wukong, you want them to be the aggressor on your team. He's going to be, you know, blazing the path forward for the rest of this squad. Meanwhile, from the side of the Saints, you're kind of just hoping to get to like 20 minutes here with good CS and not drop any kills at this point. Obviously, looking to find some yourself, but the skirmishes in lane, just with most of these champs, are not going to go the way of the Saints. You're really looking towards that later game. Yeah, and the team fighting especially is going to be a very, very interesting time, because having the Ornn, very good for the team fighting. Having those Ashe Rs to kind of start the fight is very good, but playing into the Wukong, playing into an Ahri can be very, very tricky. Obviously, that Varus is going to be trying to kite all over the place, so they're going to have to find some way to get that backline access, whether it's going to be that Rock Boom R or Biscotti trying to see if he can get in there and get something going. But it's a comp I don't know if we've seen the Saints run in any league yet. I think I saw them run something similar in Scrim, so it might not be a fully refined comp just yet, but something they're definitely tooling with. But right now, pretty even across the board. Rock Boom is at a slight deficit in the bot lane for that CS, though. That push has been in the entire time, so has been dropping a couple of creeps here and there. So the guessing UCI right now, try to make sure this Varus gets ahead nice and early, get the bot lane push, and then try to get the roam going with that Wukong and that Ahri. Yeah, that's the plan here. You see level 6 hit by both mid laners, the top laners, bot lane soon to follow as... What's Ahri building? Ever? Because she has boots already. Banshee's Veil? Because she already has boots too. Oh, it might be actually. Or just a Mercs, or just building Mercs and first, moving in. Yeah. We do see Mike Young move in towards the bot lane. There's going to be a flash immediately from Rock Boom. Q goes out from Biscotti. It's not going to land on one. Now we've got a 3v3 here in the bot lane, but do they want to stall this one out? Do they want to play for the long game? Because Rock Boom is low. Maddie's low on mana, and they might not want to be the aggressors here in this fight. But Maddie, great counter gank to set up there and just, you know, dissuade Mike Young from finding anything more than just the flash. Yeah, and watching this lineup with the Milio is a little bit interesting too. Rock Boom, got to get the shield pop there, is gonna have to run away, gonna get that fruit for some of this health gain, but UCI still want to contest this dragon. They don't want to give this pit away for free. The Saints now possibly looking to try to find the angle to turn Gorica. Zoning off Rock Boom in the top side jungle right now. Maddie gonna opt for the crab instead. Right now this dragon being started up by UCI. Gonna be the Hex Tech dragon to kick things off. Looks like the Saints more than likely going to let this one go. But as I say that, Maddie and Biscotti potentially looking for an angle here. They would probably take an Akashi roam. The Saints though, they're just gonna back off UCI, and UCI looks like they might actually just give this one over. I mean, they realize that Akashi has a ton of pressure in this mid lane. Look at the wave that is about to crash mid. Huge. That is massive. Cinnamon Bread has to come back there. This should be the smite. Maddie is going to secure that one. Mike Young, I'm not sure if he was out of range. He looked like he was just about to hit there, but Maddie just slightly closer. Mike Young couldn't get into that range. Rock Boom, he's getting low. These shields from the Milio are saving lives out here. Rock Boom definitely would have been in a much stickier situation without Biscotti there by his side. Look at the CS already for the bot lane. I know I brought it up a few seconds ago, but Gorica actively farming away, is catching all these waves, up about 30 CS already. So this Varus absolutely going to be a problem. Ricky and Elated going back and forth right now. Ricky getting tagged down. Elated still going to give chase, looking for one more auto potentially. Not going to find it. Ricky now going to try to turn the fight just a little bit, but both these beefy top laners swinging it back and forth. Still pretty even. CS just about even. Ricky already going over to, I believe that's going to be the Thornmail, trying to stop that on-hit damage from this Renekton and from this Wukong especially. Actually, if it's Varus, I guess it's for all of them. Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, works well, I guess then. Yeah, you look towards the Rift Herald here. You do see objective being traded back here. Mike Young, no contention here. I mean, there's no vision towards that top side. The Saints, even if they do have an inkling that UC Irvine is doing this, they're not really going to know for sure until it pops up in their chat there as they claim the Eye of the Herald. Cinnamon Bread, even with that massive wave, I mean, they gave up the Dragon for it, but he's consistently keeping up in CS with Akashi while allowing this bot lane to continually get up in farm as Rockboom and Biscotti cannot do much under their towers. They're being poked out of their minds here in the bot lane. Over towards the top, you see, when Elated doesn't have that ultimate up, the amount of poke and just trades that Ricky LaFleur can outright win here up in the top lane. He's able to just continue building out items, got himself a nice Bammy Cinder now as well. That's just going to mean the longer the trade goes, the closer you are to the vicinity of Ricky LaFleur, the worse it is going to be for you, Elated. Luckily, I do see Elated building the Cull. That's a good idea in this lane. You're going to be waiting for a while. You're most likely going to hit that 100 CS mark at some point. Pop the Cull early, get a nice gold boost from that later in the game.
Ooh, Elated, a little bit late to Ricky's back there, but yeah, especially for Ricky, building up all these, kind of these healing, these defense items, because that Renekton tries to go for the all in there. It's a lot of damage to survive. TP is going to get burned topside by Elated. Mike Young spending something away in the jungle. Bot side, once again, UCI's bot lane still honestly dominating. They have a level advantage. Rockmo, I believe, just hit level 6. Flings the first star, going to be 0 for 1, but is going to get the flash out of Light Pulse. So, R for flash, not the worst in the world. Ricky, though, is going to get tagged down. He is going to land a full combo on Elated, though. Now Elated, though, is going to get the ultimate. Here comes the ultimate, though, from Ricky. The flash to follow. The knock-up not going to be found. Ricky is stunned. Him and Elated. They are fighting in a phone booth right now. Ricky looking for one more ability here. He's going for the hit. Elated somehow surviving. Ricky still looking for the kill. There's a little more fire, but Elated walks away surviving.
Ricky is hungry for that brittle auto right there. Elated makes it away with his life over towards mid. You see, that's the broken part about Cassiopeia. I gotta say, Grounded has to be one of the most just questionable forms of CC in the game. Elated getting slowed up by that first Q from Ricky LaFleur there. He's got to be careful in this one. The one thing I see, I think Elated, he wants to dash in. He wants to get this heal with his Fury. Use up that Fury as he needs it. Heal up. I mean, you saw the burst healing in the last fight, even with the anti-heal already from Ricky LaFleur. He's got a Bramble Vest, and Elated still getting a good quarter of his health bar back from a nice Q there that is empowered.
I will say the damage, it's not alarming me for the Saints right now, but Akashi is going for Rod of Ages, which is usually that more kind of tanky build. Like, it scales very well. You do get a lot of damage in the end, but it's
the mana is insane on Cassio, though.
To be fair, that is true. Yeah, you go tier, you go Roa, and you can basically just spam that E, which I guess for the Saints, they're going to need that consistent damage because Rockboom, right? Yes, once you get that Ash Q proc, there's the R, though. It's going to stop the back. I don't think they're going to be able to get the follow-up yet. Just going to be a nice little stun. Going to spot out Light Pulse, delay the backs for just a second. But watching this Milio lane is also interesting, too, because I haven't seen too many Milio lanes, and I don't think I've seen them with too many Ashes either. So it's a little bit new what I'm watching right now. Nothing new about Ricky fighting in the top side, though.
Yeah, pretty well. The Milio lane, I mean, he's got some amazing stuff, right? You've got the R that's essentially an AoE Nico cleanse in that sense. You've got, obviously, your range boost we've talked about. The shields are amazing as you get multiple of them to put on your teammate. Over in the top lane, Ricky is just 1v1ing.
Why does Ornn hit that hard?
That is first blood from the Ornn out of all characters.
Look at the health, too.
I mean, I had to call it out there in draft. I had to talk about how solid Ornn can actually be in that 1v1 because I think he's underrated in terms of damage. Like, this is a tank.
Clearly.
This is a tank we are talking about. And this Renekton getting bursted down now on the bot side. We've got a nice 4v4 going on here. That's a good engage from Mike Young. He's able to get a good knock-up. Biscotti in the backline, dangerously low. Rockboom chases him down. Ricky LaFleur from far away is not going to hit anyone with that Call of the Forge God there. Maddie going to be the first one to find a kill in this fight. Gorica is down, and that could be the rotation off the Dragon. Going to have to see what UC Irvine got in store.
Yeah, luckily for the Saints, Gorica being dead means these hard-hitting Varus Qs are not going to be able to fly through that Dragon. Have to watch for these charms, though. Mike Young maybe looking for the steal angle. Yeah, the Kog'Maw still putting out a lot of damage. That AP Kog'Maw already has the Lost Chapter, has the Magic Pen boots as well. So This is a Kog'Maw that hits quite hard, and those low health bars, that'll be enough to dissuade the Saints off that Dragon. But they've got their eyes set on a kill in the mid lane. Ricky is going to find a second kill onto Elated, has the Sunfire Aegis already, working his way toward that second item already. So this top side right now, absolutely in the Saints' favor. Now the Blade of the Rune King is going to be on Elated, so the trading should be a little bit harder for Ricky, but he's still going to be in a very good situation.
And Saints will 100% give up a Mountain
Oh,
Break
yeah.
for an extra kill there. There's only been 3 kills total in this game, even though it feels like Ricky has been
And 2 of them were the last 30 seconds.
It feels like Ricky has been bullying Elated for a long time in this game, but every time both players make it out with a quarter of a health, 100 health left, and it's not ending up in any kills. So Elated still easily worth over 200 gold, even with his second death there. Now he's gonna pick up the Bork. I want to see if this is gonna give him a little bit of a better chance up against Ricky, but you're already looking at the Sunfire, you're already looking at those tabbies,
Yeah.
and the Bramble Vest online. It's just anti-auto attack right now.
Once you got the tabbies too, I think that was kind of
That's security.
Yeah, Blade of the Rune King with Sunfire and the Bramble, there's still a realm where Elated gets the full Fury, can land a lot of damage, but having the tab eyes and everything else, it's going to be a little bit trickier for that Renekton to really get going in the game here. Ricky's team fighting still going to be as valuable as ever. So right now, if you're the Saints, got to be feeling good. A slight, I guess disadvantage as far as the gold is, but nothing noticeable. Drags are 1 apiece. Second Herald going to be free because they have a 4 men toward this top side right now. Elated all by himself, farming away at that bot side, trying to split push. Here comes Rock Boom. All 5 members stacked up. Herald going over to St. Clair. That'll be their first one of the game. Light Pulse just going to be a second too late there.
And you're looking for this Herald to try and make some kind of gold advantage here. You're still down in gold up against UC Irvine. Currently, not by too much, but grabbing something like a tower here. First tower not available up anymore, as they did grab it bot. UC Irvine that time. There's the Ashe ultimate to come through. Akashi going to be moving forward. The Petrify, it's not going to work. Akashi's the first one to fall. This is a huge collapse from UC Irvine. They flipped the fight around. Goric has found a double kill, and they're chasing down the remaining Saints members. Ricky LaFleur going to turn, maybe sacrifice himself for the good of the bot lane there, but that's 3 kills right back to UC Irvine. They pick up a big gold advantage from that.
Yeah, this Varus is starting to get a little bit fed. Already has the shield bow working his way toward the second and third items as well. So the one person for St. Clair that you did not want to get fed early, that main damage source, now going to find 2 kills in the back pocket, going to find a small little shutdown too. So now you're going to have to be careful how you proceed to play these games, because Varus, he will play well into the late game. Kog'Maw will play well into the late game. Same with Ahri. These are a lot of champs. They're going to have a lot of engaged potential, and even though Rock Boom does land that R, it takes the follow-up, I think, 3 to 4 seconds too long, where they kind of overextend there. They chase a kill that probably wasn't going to be there anymore, and UC Irvine right there to pounce.
Yeah, great positioning from UC
Look
Irvine.
at the long swords on the lane.
I think the one thing is I think Saints just got a little too hungry after grabbing that Herald. They figured that this top lane was sitting there as an island, that Cinnamon Bread was alone, but little did they know there was 3 to 4 UC Irvine members ready to back them up. To fight flip back on them, it's the gold lead flip back over to UC Irvine. It's the Saints going back to playing catch up for a little bit, looking towards this later game. Maddie still does have this Eye of the Herald to be able to possibly make an aggressive play should they see a lane that's open to really capitalize on. I mean, UC Irvine, they've been doing a good job of kind of just covering out this whole map, not really giving Saints an opportunity to even just push in a side lane here like Akashi's trying to do.
Yeah, the bot lane has been completely shredded. That's why Akashi now is trying to catch the side lane. Can farm up a little bit there, trying to give the push over onto Elated. The Saints right now, though, UC Irvine, like you said, in control of the entire map, basically. They had Prio in all 3 waves, playing around these objectives. Maddie and Biscotti linking up near the mid lane here. The rest of UCI, though, they are here to cover for their mid laner. Try to keep things going here. Gorica, though, just farming away. Already at 160 CS, so this Varus, on top of finding the kills, has found consistent ways to farm, pretty much uncontested, too. Rock Boom was getting shoved on early in the game. Rock Boom also going with that shield bow now, too. So I guess, try to stop the Ahri charm and these other CC tactics, possibly.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind this dragon is up in 25 seconds. That's an Ocean Drake. That's a big one
Ocean
to fight
Soul,
for.
too.
One of the strongest souls in the game, debatably. And for a team like the Saints, who are kind of looking for these long drawn out team fights. It's going to help even more. They want this Ocean Drake. There's an engagement mid. Cinnamon Bread and Ricky kind of going back and forth with a little bit of traded damage. The Dragon going to be up momentarily as these teams
related.
Setting up. Peep elated down, coming through that bottom river bush, that bottom tri-bush. Meanwhile, the rest of the team pinching in between. Ricky LaFleur has to pop that blast cone, has to link up with the rest of the team, but what can he do? Mike Young try to grab him with the brittle. Ricky, though, you're so low, you can't engage on anything here. Cinnamon Bread flash over, tries to get those autos, is going to have to burn a little bit more for that. The autos are going to kill him down, though, and now the rest of the Saints turn tail and run. Maddie taking a good chunk of damage, but Rock Boom, he's only one item on this Ashe. As much as he can put down the autos, Ashe, you're just not that strong until you get those items under your belt.
Yeah, Ashe and Varus, very similar in a lot of their playstyle, except the Varus is so much further ahead, rather, that Rock Boom, like, the Saints taking these fights, I don't want to say they're playing like the same comp, but they're playing similar styles of comp. Right now, UC Irvine just has gold advantage. They have item advantage. They have stat advantage. I mean, it's like a 5-6K gold lead at this point. They have the 2 dragons under their belt. So right now, taking these 5v5s to the Saints, unless you find the perfect engage and you're able to follow up immediately, because like we said, they don't really have any damage. Akashi building the Roa, it's going to take a little bit to get that second, third item to really start to see that damage come through. Rock Boom, starting off with the shield bow, has the Berserkers now, not the most damage, right? You have to get that Q proc over and over and over. Biscotti, not really going to be a damage source. Maddie and Ricky, obviously, we joked about Ricky's damage, but 2 tanks in that jungle top side. So it's keeping Rock Boom Akashi alive, or it's kissing the fight goodbye.
Exactly, and this is what was my main concern when we saw this draft come through, is who's going to be doing the damage. There's nobody you can pick out on this team who's like, that's their team fight Kara. Yes, you could say it's the Cass. Yes, you could say it's the Ashe, but that's not going to happen at 20 minutes into the game, not when there's only 3 kills on this entire side of the team. You see Gorica been keeping up on that CS, been picking out a good few kills. Now you're up to that shield bow and that Ginsu's. That is a huge power spike for this Varus when he's going that on-hit build. The Ginsu's just, it immediately ups your value in that team fight tenfold, in my opinion. And now you see Gorica starting to rip through people in these team fights.
Yeah, and those Merc Treads are going to play very well into this Saints comp too. It's going to be taking off a lot of those champs. So right now the itemization, solid. We're going to see the Leandry's getting built for Cinnamon Bread, so that's basically to target out Maddie and Ricky. We see a lot of times the Everfrost, sometimes the Ludens. Usually it's that Everfrost or that Leandry, so depending on the build that the Ahri is opting for. Mid lane has been fairly even. We see the Ahri though, 1-0-3 with those assists. Akashi having a little bit of a harder time finding that same value, but it's the thing with Kasha too, she needs a lot of setup. You need things to kind of go right when the fight starts. Ricky trying to get the fight started. Gorica is the right target, but he's not finished off, and now the fight is going to turn. Maddie is ticked down about 20%. Ricky's taking arrows to the back. He's getting shredded up by Elated. Charm lands over onto Akashi. The damage from the Kog'Maw also getting output. The Saints right now, they have to hit this S button and back off. UCI right now oppressive in the mid lane. Cinnamon Bread making sure that stopwatch is working. It is. Corruption pot popped right after, but the Saints getting shoved in the mid wave. UC Irvine, it was all to set up for Baron.
Beautiful engage from the Saints. I mean, you with that Rock Boom, he is going to get his R sidestep. Then you see everyone collapse onto Ricky's ult right there. But Mike Young, way to stifle the engage with his own ultimate there. Knock up Maddie, burst down Maddie in that sense. Now you can see them forcing this Baron. There's going to be a knock up. That's going to be the first kill over onto Cinnamon Bread. He's down 4 now. 1 traded back for UC Irvine. Gorica laying down the damage. Maddie, Rock Boom, you're going to be your 2 main players that are still up and alive, still feeling pretty healthy in this fight. Light Pulse, Mike Young still around. Keep this in mind. You do see the TP start to come through from Akashi. He backed up. He's now got his Seraphs. He's got his Rod of Ages.
Gorica, Gumayushi.
Our Spike Akashi here. Yeah, you got to keep an eye on Gorica. We've seen these Varus Qs in these past few years start to become a threat to these objectives, but right now the Saints whittling away at the objectives. There's the R onto Gorica. Will he convert off of it? Maddie shuts him down. 750 gold, and the threat of the steal gone. But keep the health bars. The flip is too good. UC Irvine flip the Baron, and they steal it out of the Saints' hands.
Wow, like taking candy from a baby. That fight was looking so good until it wasn't, and then it was absolute disaster for St. Clair. They just, that fight at the pit was so long. They got UCI to get their entire death timers, come back with full health bars. The Saints never went for the reset, and that's why I said, like, they're really going for the Baron. I understand they thought they had some death timers, but they didn't have a lot of health. All it took was Cinnamon Bread popping the Spirit Rush, flying in there with Ari, fresh off that TP, causing a stir. And then once one person gets charmed, the CC chain is just there. The damage output is there. Like UC Irvine, there is no lack of damage on this team. They have double Leandries on Kog'Maw Ari with the Rabadons. You have the Varus with that huge Q power. You have a Wukong with Divine Black Cleaver already. And obviously, Elated has the Prowlers in the Bork, so there is a lot of damage on this UC Irvine team, and any trades that aren't perfect probably will not go the Saints' way right now. That is going to be a clone getting grounded. Blue buff looks like it maybe got taken away there. Maddie, Smite still is there. So blue buff over to Mike Young. Once again, UCI just breathing down the Saints' necks.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is right now the Saints have to try and contest this Dragon as it comes up soon, but you're fighting into a team that's already stronger than you. They're Baron buffed up. They're going to have insane stats to work with. Ricky caught alone from the team, caught off guard and picked off, separated from the rest. Rockboom, try to kite out Mike Young all you want, but this Wukong's got dashes to work with. The R's gonna come through, flash over the wall from Rockboom, chase him down. Elated, he's popped his own ultimate. That's gonna be vision over from Rockboom, but look at the flash stun from Elated. He is in there, but he's getting shredded by Rockboom as he can't get into that melee range. Gorica v Rockboom now. Mike Young absolutely pops the ADC. Akashi on the run right now, chased down by the minions.
Oh, he flashes it
from Light Pulse there.
Oh, Akashi.
Interesting to see. I mean, maybe he thought he could make that outplay, but at that point, I think you just accept
it was an Ari.
defeat.
It's an Ari. You're never outrunning an Ari. She's going to keep popping the W. She's going to find a way to get back over onto you. Running away from Ari and Wukong is an extremely tricky thing to do. In UCI, they're going to get a massive advantage. They're going to get a Akashi's flash. But right, it's one of those plays, right? In the moment, yes, you think you can get out, so I understand where it's coming from, but us having that top them, dude, we can see probably not going to be the best case. And someone like Akashi, too, he has to be one of these carries for damage, and they haven't really got the setup for it. I mean, just look at the gold lead across the board. It is an absolutely earth-shattering difference. The bot lane sitting at about 3K, mid lane sitting at about 2.5. The top lane, the only one where it's a little bit closer, that's because Ricky had about a 3-kill head start. But again, right, it's an Ornn. While the team fighting is great, and while those early trades look nice, that damage is not going to sustain. It's not going to hold up, especially as these items start to roll in for UCI.
Hey, I mean, start to roll in. They've been rolling in here. It's more like as these full builds start to roll in for UCI. We're looking close to 50K on the team gold, up over 10K as a team on St. Clair right now. You've picked up the last two Dragons, and that Baron was everything. The Saints, they really just couldn't decide whether they wanted to finish the Baron or try to aggress onto Mike Young and Light Pulse there as they were trying to just poke away and contest at that Baron themselves. And then UC Irvine, we saw what happened. They get the respawn timers, they make that flip happen, and it kind of just comes back down to Saints don't have the consistent damage that they really need in a game like this. They have so much setup for it, don't get me wrong, but you need Rockboom or Akashi. At this point, you need Akashi to be the one to do that damage, because Rockboom, he needs to take a while to set up. He needs to proc that lethal tempo. He needs to get his Q stacked up. Possibly even needs to find a nice R onto somebody to really start this fight.
Was that the nice R you were looking for? There's the Milio Cleanso. So, two ultimate cooldowns now online for St. Clair, rather, are going to be offline. Now UCI maybe seeing a window here, having those two big cooldowns on the back burner. You could potentially look to try to siege the base here. Eyes on the mid lane. Saints, though, do a good job holding things down right now, just trying to clear out this wave. UCI, though, they will be happy to starve these topside resources working the Saints jungle. I mean, just deep vision everywhere. They are set up for every objective. They are set up to keep sieging the base. The Saints right now, you're hoping to extend the game 10 more minutes, get another 2 items under each one of your champs, and hopefully try to take a team fight from there. But the team fighting of UC Irvine, so strong, just that lack of damage. And that's why, like, I don't know enough to know if, like, a Kennen would have played great into this team comp, but I have to imagine there were a couple picks that would have given you similar value to Ornn that you might have got a little bit more damage or consistent damage from.
I think, and look, this is nothing against Rockboom, I just don't think the Ashe pick is really where it's
I
at.
don't think Ashe is great
in
right now either.
In a lot of situations, I just don't think the Ashe pick is where it's at. There's much
into
more,
Ari Wukong too.
There's much more valuable ADCs you can be finding, and you don't need the slow on this team from Rockboom, right? You have enough engaged from your own support, from Maddie, who is going to be in their face regardless of the fight. You have Ricky LaFleur. Yes, the Ashe R helps. Yes, the constant slows from the Ashe help. You could, realistically, you could just be playing an ADC with just a little bit more damage output in the long run.
I was wondering, even like, again, I don't know what team comp would run the best, but even if they just read like their typical Jinx Thresh or something, Jinx Nautilus, their typical, we've seen them run it time and time again. The comp is obviously very, very strong in the meta right now, so maybe something like that where we know Rockboom has experience, they've played it together, but I think we've been seeing Rockboom play a lot of Ashe before. The Milio is definitely a little bit new, so maybe it's something to work on or something to figure out, but UCI, they seem to have, they at least have Kog'Maw support figured out, because this pick, 0-0-11, this has clearly been that nice consistent damage source just constantly, and I guess for the side of UCI, it's just outranging and outpoking the Saints. Ashe is only really good because of the range, because of the ability to kind of oppress in lane, but there is Kog'Maw. That is completely taken away from you, and that is one of your main tools down off the board.
Yeah, I think these Kog'Maw Rs have just been chunking down the Saints in these close-range jungle fights, and look at it right there. It's the AoE over the wall. Light Pulse playing insanely safe on this Kog'Maw and just doing exactly what you need him to do. Keep in mind, the Baron is back up at this point. We're looking at about 55 seconds on this Soul Dragon for UC Irvine. UC Irvine is fine with Saints pushing this away. Push all you want, because they are just looking for one of those objectives. If not, this Baron right now, you can see them starting to set up. Cinnamon Bread has to be the one on the zone for this towards the outside of that pit, but the Saints are ready to run it down through the river.
Yeah, Hawkshot toward the pit. Baron getting chunked down. About 5k HP now. The R goes in from Rockboom. The R goes in from Ricky. They're going to try to combo up Mike Young. The W's going in. The next knock-up, Cinnamon Bread trying to dash away to safety. The Spirit Rush will not work. Now they're going to turn their sights onto Elated. Lots of chip damage. He will escape with his life. UCI still working away at this Baron, but the Saints are trying to make this one into a nice little leash for them. That is Mike Young down. The jungle is down. That is going to be a Baron flip back to the Saints. So 2 Barons, 2 flips. Saints finally finding some glimmer of hope amongst that last 15 minutes of what felt like nothingness.
And that is how you pick up your damage with a comp like this. Yeah. Layer your CC,
lock them down,
perfectly lock down those players, and even you notice they didn't get that kill onto Elated. He was able to just back and get home safely, but it's the fact that he is out of that fight. You're leaving the rest to a 3v5 there in that top river.
And you deny Soul
you flip that Baron, deny Soul, and you're doing essentially what UC Irvine did right to you 10 minutes ago.
Yep.
You're doing it right back to them, and it's gotta feel good if you're the Saints right now. We were looking at like close to a 13k gold lead at one point in this game, down to 7.5, which once you start to get to this point in the game, it starts to converge a little bit.
Yeah, and the thing is too, I think 3 members of UCI all had fairly hefty shutdowns, so the Saints got a ton, they got a nice gold injection into the bank account there, so that is going to be such that, those comeback mechanics that League has, those objective bounties, the rest of it, always nice to get your team back in the game. And obviously, right, what's one Baron flip? We get 2, we get a Rockboom R, Maddie and Ricky looking for the follow, Elated gonna get the double knock-up, Light Pulse gets deleted. Now it's gonna be over onto Mike Young, and it looks like Cinnamon Bread trying to run away. Mike Young is the next one to fall. Rockboom popping off those Qs. Gorka is dead too. All of a sudden, UCI, it was all going so well, and now it is all going down the drain. Cinnamon Bread lucky to Spirit Rush away, but the damage is done. Nice little shove topside from Elated, but the Saints right now, the team fighting the CC lair, and now that Rockboom has the IE, he's got the Phantom Dancer, now we can finally start to see some more damage output.
This is what I was talking about. It was, it's taken a long time to get here. We're 33 minutes now into this game.
2 team fights in 2 minutes.
But 3 item Ashes on the board. There's a PD, there's an IE, and you've got that range boost from the Milio right now. The Saints can go absolutely wild around the map, knowing that Rockboom now has their back in the damage department, meaning when Ricky goes in, when Maddie goes in, when Ricky finds a triple knock-up with that ultimate, you know that there's going to be someone there to capitalize on it, and that's making their fights look a lot more confident in these rivers.
Yeah, now Akashi does have the Rylai's too, so there is going to be a lot of slowing going on for the side of St. Clair. Those Ash W's plus the Rylai is going to be so good to kind of get these targets slowed down a bit, try to see if they can lock down that Kog'Maw, lock down that Varus. Then obviously, like we said, Rock Boom getting those items in tow. Akashi very close to finding that death cap too. So this Casio, now that the scaling part of the game is kind of complete, she almost has that 3-4 item spike. That damage is going to start to be absolutely massive from that E. Saints right now fighting for vision control, fighting to shove in these waves, try to get this Baron push as much as they can before it goes away here. But they literally made up for 15 minutes of lost time in the last 5 minutes of team fighting. 4K gold lead from what was 11. Wave State in a much better place. Still going to get a top of the bot shove, but they are in a completely different spot than they were a little while back.
Yeah, you gotta be feeling good about
the game's playable now.
Yeah, you are shoved in, but look at that bot lane. I mean, Akashi's been down there. He's been putting in that work in the side lane and pretty uncontested from the side of UC Irvine. They do have elated towards that top side, kind of matching that pressure a little bit. This small little wave here is going to go in and should clear out that tower, considering there's a cannon there. That's going to be bot turret destroyed down there. That is going to be another turret over to the Saints and just close that gold gap a little bit more, close to around 4K now.
Yeah, Akashi does complete the death cap spike there, so we're starting to see now this scoreboard looking fairly even. We're even going to see shutdowns now on Rock Boom and Akashi, so this game in the eye of Riot too, definitely starting to swing a little bit. Akashi constantly just in the side lane, level 18 already, so basically just farming away until he can get to that full build. And the Saints right now, we're at the point in the game where not that the damage is necessarily going to be dead even, but a 5v5 is more of a 50% chance now than the 75-25 it was 5 minutes ago.
100%, and as you're looking at these dragons and this next Baron starting to spawn, GA
that's early.
Item number 3 as well. Mike Young, he wants to be prevalent in these fights. He's been getting bursted down a lot at the starting, and having him come back up there for the cleanup could be something that UC Irvine needs, could be the crux that they need to win these fights that they've been just losing a little bit more now that Rock Boom's online. There's the CC layering there. Rock Boom going absolutely nuts. Akashi is able to get so much damage over time onto the whole group of players right there. Elated's in, he's gonna go golden, but let the entire team rain down when he comes out. Mike Young not gonna burn that GA just yet. They're gonna get backs off, but this should be, I want to say should be a dragon, but we're still 40 seconds away from that. These two teams, they kind of jumped the gun on the objective fight there.
The Saints maybe try to go catch the bot wave here, try to get the shove one more time. I'm expecting Mike Young to, did stop the back actually, gonna restart it now, so the Saints probably not gonna go give chase though. They're gonna focus on the wave state, taking away these bot side jungle resources. Mike Young though, having third thoughts now, maybe gonna take one more chance here, see if the Saints finally do turn. He is gonna try to set up the flank here. Gromp did get put back into the map here. Mike Young having some fun here, trying to see if he can maybe wait for these death timers for his teammates to come back. He can try to link up. We're seeing a lot of pings going out there as well, so maybe trying to set something up, but the Saints trying to set something up in the mid lane on their own.
Yeah, Gorka and Cinnamon Bread, you gotta be careful here. There's a control ward in this bush. Goodbye, my friends. Gorka goes golden, but will it be enough? Grounded as you come out of that Zonia's there, and you are out of here. Cinnamon Bread and Gorka, holy, the layer of CCs as you walk into a bush blind. That's how you get punished for it by a comp so CC heavy. Mike Young here, he's ready to try and make this steal happen. Does he want to do it though? Rock Boom from over the wall, just peppering him with autos.
I know Ash's Q got buffed, but man, seeing it almost full build, you really see how hard that thing hits. Saints take Dragon, once again denying Soul for UC Irvine, now putting themselves over on Soul Point. Like we said, Ocean Soul, probably one of the 2 to 3 best souls in the entire game. That healing is so damn good for that sustain. This Baron also going to be good for the Saints. I don't think UCI has a prayer of trying to flip this one, so we're gonna have our first uncontested Baron of the day. St. Clair College will be the recipients. Once again, this gold lead essentially illegible? Something. Can't tell the difference. Nullified, null void, cancel it. Doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah. Negligible?
That's what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, pretty well. Doesn't matter anymore. I mean, 2K at this point, these players, there's a few of them, right? You look at the bot lane. If there was a 2K gap there, yeah, maybe that could be another item onto Gorica over Rockboom or vice versa there.
It's
but
mostly
pretty
top
well,
support.
we're seeing this being evened up all around the board there. That's going to mean that the team fight, I mean, you've seen it previously, the team fights are just looking amazing for the Saints as they're picking their targets perfectly. You see another knock up onto Light Pulse there. Rockboom, he has to pop his own stopwatch in this fight, but it's going to save him from Mike Young for the time being. That's going to help out a lot there. Maddie and Ricky just absolutely going to town on Gorica there. He's frontlining as that ADC, as there is no backline in this comp when Elated gets popped and Gorica is quick to follow. Mike Young, that's going to be a GA popped as well. No Akashi here to shut down the dash. Mike Young might have a chance to get out of here for a sec, but they're just gonna, did they just leave him there for a sec? I think that was a spectator bug.
Listen, League of Legends, there was a lot going on in that fight, trying to keep up. Ricky trying to keep up with Cinnamon Bread right now, and the fact that Ornn can chase down Ari, however, that kite damage, Cinnamon Bread might end up taking Ricky down here. Cinnamon Bread does not have the Spirit Rush up, is gonna have to keep popping the W. Ricky's gonna headbutt the wall, the charm is gonna miss though. Oh, the auto attack trade, the R flies by for dramatic effect, but it is a solo bolo in the bot lane for Ricky LaFleur, and it is a Nexus for the Saints right now. You see Irvine, these Nexus towers merely made of paper, merely a distraction, a footnote in the game that the Saints take over in the mid to late. Akashi gonna pop the stopwatch. Rockboom's going godlike. What's new? He is still firing off this Q damage. Gorica's taking one between the eyes. The Nexus is going down, and the Saints turn this game around in a 15-minute span, and all of a sudden they walk away the victors.
That game hit me harder than the coffee that I had before this cast. Felt like a nice caffeine rush.
Shot in the arm.
I mean, the past 10 minutes there, my brain's been moving a mile a minute with every team fight. It was a crazy game we just got to watch unfold. Highs and lows for both of these teams. A Baron flip halfway through the game. 2 Baron flips for each team, or like one per team there, and each of them drastically changing the entire pace of the game. And folks, that was only game 1.
Yeah, that was a hell of a back and forth. The Saints, honestly, they looked like they were down, out, dusted, cooked for the first 20-25 minutes, but literally 2 back-to-back team fights completely turned everything around. And all it took was them getting to that 3-4 item spike, finding the damage, and singling out the right targets to lock down. Rockboom's R found either Gorica or Light Pulse. They found the right person every single time. Ricky's, I believe, called the Forge God, the big Ornn R, found the right person every single time, and that was the key. Locking down those important members, funneling them with damage, right? That cheeky little mid-lane bush play, right? 2 people walking unsuspecting.
Beautiful.
Immediately 100-0, just kind of shuts down everything, gives you back control of the Dragon Pit, gives you back control of the Baron Pit. No flips that time, then they close things down. And like you said, that's just game 1. These 2 teams, man, always a good match.
Yeah, I mean, Saints, they played the long game. They made it there, and in a 40-minute game 1, the Saints take your victory 1-0. But this series is not over just yet. We're going to have to see what the Saints and UC Irvine have in store for us in game 2 after a short little break.
And welcome back in, everybody. We have UCI versus St. Clair College. It is going to be our second map of the evening in the ACL, the Aegis Champions League. I believe it is the quarterfinal playoffs, best of three. Game one, a little bit of a roller coaster for the Saints. They kind of got stomped out in the early game, but that late game comp, once Rockboom got a couple items under his belt, the rest of the team followed suit, and they took down UCI. And honestly, it was a game that, for 20 minutes, not much happened. It was a slow UCI dominant win, and then in the last 15 minutes, the Saints went sicko mode and basically ended the game.
Yep, I think you just recapped it pretty well for us there. I feel like we saw an entire series inside of game one right there, but the Saints looking to close it out here in the quarterfinals of the Aegis Champions League, looking to close it out with a 2-0 as well.
Yep.
UC Irvine, obviously, I mean, we've seen the resistance, we saw the strength from them in the starting of that game. It was really just Rockboom hitting that IE that actually flipped the game on its head there. But UC Irvine looking to see if they can possibly kind of, I want to see them almost take the same game plan and just try to flesh it out a little bit more. They just got outscaled in the end. And in the end, I think Saints comp started working a lot more how they wanted it to as well. The ultimate started stacking a lot better. We saw Rockboom just hitting a lot more Rs in general. We did see that first 20 minutes, there was a lot of haywire Ash errors, to say the least.
Yeah, he landed a couple, and even then, right, when you're not landing that full distance, like, yes, they're nice, and also, right, when you're landing it onto the wrong target, because sometimes, right, even if you hit, like, Cinnamon Bread, who's a bit squishy, once Ari gets out of that, press R, Spirit Dash, or Spirit Flush.
Spirit Rush,
Spirit Flush. I play Ari like every day too. That is awful. But what is not awful, these four bands pretty much identical. Pretty much what we're used to seeing. Rockboom's Tristana, Ricky's Olaf, Bomba, and then Ezreal Elise on the other side.
Yeah, and it's insta 3 bans, the same from both sides here. But first pick, are we just running this back? Are we just running this back right now?
I have a good feeling we might actually see a full run back.
Fair's first pick from UCI. That's switching it up, though.
I like that more.
Listen, throw the Jinx in there. Get some rockets on my screen right now. We had the arrows last game. Now we get the rockets this time. Super Mega Death Rocket at that. Interested to see what the follow-up pick is here. It is going to be that Maokai, presumably in the jungle there for Maddie.
Yeah, Maokai is exclusively jungle the last couple months.
But yeah, okay, the last couple months. But over the years, you've seen Maokai in every position.
Yeah, Ash was also the best support in the game 2.5 months ago, funny enough. So
was Varus.
Not wrong, actually. That ADC support meta was a weird time in League. It was 2 or 3 months long. It was very, very strange. But now we're back to a little bit more stock standard game. Lee Sin. Been seeing a lot of Lee Sin and a lot of pro play, a lot of high-level play. I do think he just got a small set of nerfs, so I'm not sure exactly how good. But, right, if you can play like one of those Chinese LPL Lee Sins, it's like an entirely different champion.
I mean, Lee Sin, the numbers are one thing, right? That's going to push him from the tiers. But Lee Sin, the value comes from being an amazing player, right? The value comes from kind of flexing your mechanics, picking out your targets with that kick, and really maximizing just kind of your engage into that team fight, as well as in some situations almost like playing as an assassin with your AoE E as well there. Do see the Ari pick up to come back as well. And I want to see what the final pick is going to be here from St. Clair. Will they lock in that support? They are going to do that. Okay. And you talked about this last game. You had mentioned the Jinx as a pairing for Milio there. It's going to give those rockets a lot of range, but you can't forget that increasing that minigun range is going to help as well. You can keep the auto attack stacks up, and that's just going to keep your attack speed up as high as possible throughout these fights as well. Final round of bans, switching it up this time as Blitzcrank is going to be the first ban from the Saints.
I wonder what UCI is going to be looking for. The Aurelia ban actually coming through, so I don't think I've seen Ricky play that much Aurelia, nor do I think I've seen Akashi usually plays like control mages. We don't usually see him play a lot of these AD mids, so to speak, but maybe it was one of these pocket picks possibly. But like we said, the Milio and the Jinx, theoretically, I mean, it makes a ton of sense as a pairing Jinx. The farther away she can safely farm and do damage, the better. Because the thing with team fighting, if Jinx is alive the entire length of a team fight, your team is 100% guaranteed to win that team fight. Once she gets that first reset, once she gets excited and starts running around the rift, she's been proven to be probably if not the best, second or third best hyper-scaling ADC as far as hyper carries in League right now. So Jinx it's one of those champs like Sivir. She's either completely broken, dominating the meta, or she's like fairly garbage.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those champs that's almost like hard to balance in that sense, because like you said, you've either got your team fight pentakill monster, or you have bottom of the barrel ADC. Attack speed ADC suck right now regardless, right? It depends on the patch, and right now we happen to be in that patch where ADCs and those attack speed based ADCs they're at the height of their peak. You want to throw in enchanters there in the bot lane. That's why, you know, we saw Gorica from the side of UC Irvine there. He went for that attack speed Varus build, and you saw how well it worked out in the early game when he did have that lead. Luckily for the Saints, obviously, last game. Rockboom, you know, he picked up his slack a little bit, especially in terms of CS. You got to keep in mind, Gorica was up 40, 50 CS
the whole game.
For almost that entire game.
Yeah, we are going to see the Azir getting slotted into the mid lane, so haven't seen too much Azir recently. I think he did get a slight set of nerfs and buffs, but right, Azir scales like hell. Super good team fighting. That shuffle is so good for engaging, disengaging, setting up around these neutral objectives. But Kennen is going to be that top lane answer, so I was going to ask if UCI, I was looking to maybe see where their front line was, because typically with that Varus, you want to try to play some kind of front to back, but I want to see how this Kennen does, because from what I have seen, and my eyes tell me, Kennen is the best top laner in the game right now, and I don't really care what anyone has to say. From what I have seen, the damage output, the mobility, I'm not sure exactly who would be a better, more dynamic pick in the top lane right now. Obviously, now though that Kennen has been picked, I would expect to probably see the Scion coming through for Ricky. The Ornn has already been banned away. The Heimerdinger has been banned away for the Saints. So, Ashe Varus, it's going to be the bot lane meta from 2 months ago, and I am expecting to see the Scion get locked in for Ricky, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised here. Dr. Mundo is
same
going to be
idea,
that pickup, but yeah,
cool.
Very similar idea, right? You're stacking up that health. Obviously, I don't think Mundo technically, because he doesn't have actually stacking health in his kit, I don't think he can get to the same kind of heights that Scion can in terms of that value.
This is after Mundo got nerfed. Do you remember when he was like the most broken champ in the game?
And you could pop R and 1v1 a turret with no minions? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I remember that. But overall, looking at this right now, the Saints comp, once again, you're looking towards two characters to really be your crux of damage there, and then you've got setup from the rest of the three. Meanwhile, UC Irvine got spread out damage. All of these characters from the side of UC Irvine, all of these champs have, whether it be 1v1 potential or insane team fight damage potential.
Yeah, I will say, I'm seeing, like we said, they don't really have a distinct front line. They don't have a ton of disengage either. Yes, Ahri and Kennen can get in and get out fairly well, but if the Saints pop that Maokai or that Nature's Grasp, I believe it is, if they can get onto these UCI members, I'm pretty sure it's just going to be another case of 100-0. But having the charm, having the Kennen mobility, having these tools, having that Lee Sin, you can ward hop, you can kick, you can also disengage some of these Saints members. It is a very interesting matchup. We have a couple of the meta choices from each side, but ultimately comes down to who is going to execute. But obviously UCI, right, after the first game in this game, they obviously love to have that aggressive bot lane.
Yeah, it's honestly completely different comp from the side of the Saints here. It's almost that same idea where you have a lot of that engage from your mid being with that ultimate. This time it's going to be that Shurima shuffle there. I don't know if that's what the ultimate's actually called, but that's what the
Emperor
shuffle of it.
Yeah, Emperor shuffle, whatever. Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah, the dash into the shuffle there. That's like the main combo, right? That's the Shurima shuffle right there. You want to get behind them. You want to knock as many players with that R as you can. Scoop them up. Send them into your team where they're going to get absolutely destroyed. Maddie is going to be starting on this top side, and Cinnamon Bread is actually a little deep in here. He is going to spot out a ward being placed, but that's going to be about that. Those level 1 trades from Cinnamon Bread, especially with that W, it's very strong. He's able to get literally auto-targeted damage, right?
Proc too.
Electrocute proc, you don't have to aim any skill shots there at level 1. You get a little bit of movement speed to kind of kite it out. Here at level 1, though, Rockboom and Biscotti, you don't necessarily want to be the ones to fight level 1, especially when there's 2 ADCs, right? There's not that many abilities on the board, and Varus Ashe is going to do a lot more auto-attack damage than a Jinx Milio there. More specifically, that Ashe is going to be hurting a lot more than the Milio.
Yeah, and I think actually playing with this Milio, while I do think something like a Nautilus, I know the Blitzcrank got banned away, like a Nautilus or something, another kind of engaged support, could have worked with these two immobile, I guess, double ADC comp in a way. Having the Milio being able to try to at least outrange the Varus and outrange the Ashe is going to give Jinx a much better chance of sustaining in a lot of these fights. However, you are pushing into 2 ADCs. It is always going to be tricky. Gonna see that level 2 Hawk shot for Light Pulse, trying to get that early information on where Maddie might be cooking up.
Yeah, you almost just need a good gank to come through from Maddie here. Jinx gets excited, Rockboom picks up a single or a double kill in that bot lane. You try to start the snowball from there, because when you're flat even in gold, at least in terms of raw damage, this bot lane from the side of UC Irvine is going to feel a little bit stronger in a lot of these situations, and I think that's just going to rely on Rockboom zoning out very well and kind of playing the range. We do see first blood in mid lane. That's going to be a gank from Maddie to come through. Akashi, he's low at the end of it, but with that jungler being bought, with Mike Young flashing in on the bot lane, level 1 from both sides, but a missed Q is going to mean that that entire situation is just going to be out of their hands. But look at the bot lane right now, level 1 for each of them. Mike Young can just zone this off. We do see the TP. That's going to be Akashi headed towards the bot lane. Gorica and Mike Young running away for their lives. Flash comes out from Gorica, but Maddie and Akashi may be good to chase this down. Whoa! Disengage gonna come through, but Mike Young, forget about the disengage. He's in there, sending his buff over to Akashi for good measure, as the second kill of the game is gonna go back over to the Saints.
Yeah, just Ubered the blue buff over into Maddie's pocket there. Always got to take that for the Saints, and it was just UCI. They have a very strong comp for trying to get early lane action going on. However, when you give chase that far up that bot side, you burn a lot of summoner spells in the process, trying to track down this bot lane, and then things don't work. And because Akashi and Maddie link up for that kill in the mid lane, Akashi can afford to TP to the bot side, set up that play, get that damage they're looking for, but back the other way. He was low HP. Cinnamon Bread will take that red buff back, say thank you, and he'll push this way back on his own.
Yeah, the one saving grace there is that Akashi does have a lot of gold to work with as he heads back to lane here. He has picked up 2 kills now at the start of this game, but you got to head back to the lane. You got to start looking at those minions, because those CS numbers looking pretty low in comparison to Cinnamon Bread there. And you got to remember that, 12 to 15 CS can essentially equal a kill as long as you're getting your value out of them, as long as you're getting your melees and evening out that gold throughout. Mike Young, he's been putting a lot of pressure on the side of the Saints, and we talked about it both in the pregame, in that first game, that Mike Young, he's going to be this aggressive early jungler. He's here to skirmish, right? And the Lee Sin pick almost just plays into that perfectly well. Wukong last game as well, but I think Lee Sin is one of those ones where, Lee Sin's here to fight.
Yeah, and this team comp, it's all damage from UC Irvine. This comp strictly it's Lee Sin, Kennen, Ari, Varus, Ashe. There is you're not going for a ton of chain CC, while there is decent lair. You're trying to fight, you're trying to poke out in these lanes, you're trying to get the push, you're trying to constantly put pressure on the side of St. Clair. Stop them from scaling up into where this Azir gets 3-4 items to when this Jinx gets 3-4 items, because the thing, even if UCI gets off to, let's say, a 4 or 5k gold lead, if Jinx is alive at a 25-minute team fight, that fight can absolutely go the other way. But because UC Irvine does have the bot lane push and that kill went to Akashi, a dragon will be the reward for them. So first neutral objective over to them. Ricky hacking away at the top side here. Slight CS lead, but playing into the Kennen, going to be hard to find the kill either way.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? You're sitting here as Dr. Mundo, not like Ornn in the last game where you have a lot of kill pressure. You're kind of waiting till level 6 for that kill pressure, but at the same time,
now.
You don't want to fight into a Kennen. I mean, you are going to have the CC shield as Mundo there, but there's just so many ways that can go wrong if you get over aggressive. And we see Ricky, I mean, he gets punished a lot in some of these games for just getting over aggressive into the enemy's tower and kind of pushing his limits a little bit. Let's leave it at that.
I mean, listen, that's the side. When you play in top lane, you are looking for any reason to try to have a good time.
Any reason to have a solo kill.
Especially when you're playing tanks, like Ricky has said. A lot of the meta has dictated that top lane tanks.
Could be a great game.
Besides the Olaf, this could be a nice setup. Elated does have the R in the back pocket, does have the flash up as well. So going to be a little bit tricky to find this Maddie. Also not going to be at that level 6 yet, but Elated stepping up just a little bit far here. The Saints not trying to give this one away though. They're trying to bait him into this Maddie. Going for that slight reposition. Is going to hit that level 5. Going for the all in here. They're going to go for it. Elated's going to pop the R though. The damage though is going to be enough for him to get away. Ricky looking to maybe land one more Q. Stun back the other way, but Elated does get away, and that's the beauty of Kennen. Only had to use the R. Keeps the flash.
Yeah, it hurts a little bit there when you're Maddie. You set up that lane gank. You're there for a while, right? You spend a lot of your time in that middle bush there in the top lane, and Elated makes it away by just clicking that R button. Just
these
clicking his
Milio
E
voice
right.
lines.
Yeah, is he laughing? I don't know what he's doing. He's dancing or laughing. It's one of his emotes. It sounds like when they do like the warm-up in High School Musical.
Yeah,
like when they're doing like the.
I noticed and I was like, what do I hear?
The vocal warm-up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here, but
Putting on his best Sharpay impression. That's
Yeah.
for all the boomers, I guess, at this point. High School Musical is, damn, at this point, probably a lot of kids haven't even either seen it or it wasn't on or anything like that.
That's brutal
That
think
is
about.
brutal. Shout out to Zac Efron and Corbin Bleu. Listen, Ryan, I know we're 24, but there's a lot of, Ryan, everyone we know is 17, 18 in esports. A lot of these young kids don't know how it was back in the day, but this bot lane, they know how it is. They're still going back and forth, fighting for the push. UCI has the edge so far. We're going to see the shuffle. Maddie going for the all-in. Ricky is going to rank over to the mid lane now. There's the Nature's Grasp. They're going to go for it all. The saplings, the W. Maddie's going in head first. The charm's going to land, though. Ricky not going to be stopped, though. He's going after Mike Jung. Mike Jung's going down. So is Cinnamon Bread. That is a double kill for Ricky. Now elated. You don't have the R. You have the flash. The flash is going to be enough. No, he got taken down by the Q. Ricky snipes him out through the blast cone. It's all business for this Mundo. That is a top lane shove and a Rift Herald to the Saints.
And you've got double buffs on this Mundo.
That
too.
Q was
Just
dirty.
Just, add on to the pain right now. The one thing that you can be happy with if you're UC Irvine is that your bot lane is right back to it. You pick this Varus Ashe, and you're sitting there consistently 25 CS up above Rockboom. You've got him pushed into tower all game. Rockboom, however, not super concerned by this. I mean, you saw what happened last game. He's playing as safe as possible. They're okay to give up this tower if it means that Rockboom is not going to give kills over to this Varus during the lane.
Yeah, you don't want to give kills over, but this Varus and this Ashe getting
last plate already.
Yeah, getting all the plating gold and getting first tower. That is a huge gold injection. And once this tower falls, Mike Young looking to land the Q. The R is going to land though. The stun. TP is going to come in to save the bot lane. No, I believe that's going to be Akashi's. It is going to be. He's going to come in, cover the bot lane once more, Maddie. And that is a great job by the Saints, recognizing when Mike Young is coming for the dive, realizing this bot side tower is not long for this world. We're going to teleport down. We're going to try to cover this one. We're going to try to get vision set up because there is a Hex Tech Dragon possibly coming up for us in 50 seconds.
Yeah, good punishment there from Cinnamon Bread on that TP play bot as he's just going to move forward, pick up 2 plates for himself as he shoves in that mid wave. Help him out a lot there, considering he is a good chunk behind in gold in comparison to Akashi. Akashi on that Azir, kind of non-mobile to begin with, except for your few dashes. So he's foregone the boots and just went Everfrost Rush right now.
Yeah.
Akashi, no need for boots, and that's the combo from the Everfrost. You see the tower ticking away on Cinnamon Bread. He's getting low. The dashes come through from the soldiers, but that Spirit Rush is gonna save his life. Now you see Light Pulse and Mike Young start to move up towards this mid lane, pick up this wave. Possible skirmish to happen as the Herald is gonna be dropped. That's a good amount of plates to head over to Akashi and Maddie as well. We've got sums left and right here as the TP's burned from Cinnamon Bread back into that one. And it's only actually going to be 1 plate to be picked up.
Yeah, couldn't really get the second, or not the second crash. Couldn't get a much bigger crash there. A lot of these members covering over toward the mid lane. Light Pulse gonna land the W. Everfrost lands on Cinnamon Bread. Milio looking for the Q there. Not gonna find it. There's the Ashar though. Oh, it's gonna be stepped in front of. Maddie gets kicked away by the Q though. Mike Young possibly making a slight error there in judgment. The Super Mega Death Rocket. Look at those health bars. They are very low, and now the Saints have blood in their eyes. They are looking for these kills. Ricky trying to hunt down the entire team. That is a lot of damage from that Q. The Milio Q goes through. Akashi's looking for the follow. He's got the flash kill. Mike Young's looking for the answer. Gorka's got one back. Mike Young turns that one on Akashi. All of a sudden, it is UCI with the advantage. They are giving chase to the Saints. Ricky LaFleur lucky to walk away with his life. Biscotti as well. So, after all that drama, couple summoner spells, couple kills over to UCI. No dragon to be claimed quite yet, though.
Yeah, the only casualty from the side of UCI there was actually Light Pulse falling in the end. If anything, UCI getting actually a much better outcome
that was good
from
for them.
That fight. That was actually great for them. I mean, they take
Kill
the 2
Varus
for 1.
too.
Yeah, you shut down a few of those people. You get Gorica a kill. He's going to hit that Mythic little bit before Rockboom there. And keep in mind, that Super Mega Death Rocket, if it was just
so
a
close
fraction to the right, Light Pulse would have fallen to it, and it could have flipped that fight on its head, as everyone could have, you know, collapsed on Gorica after that moment, but they kind of had to pick their battles wisely, and with Ricky being pretty much the only range in that fight, it was tough for them to chase it down.
How funny is that?
Ricky being the only range in the fight, because you're sitting there with basically melee Akashi unless he has the soldier set up correctly. You have Biscotti, who's, yeah, he's ranged, but what are his autos really going to do? He's sitting here playing Milio. He's on that Enchanter support. Ricky is your main form of poke in that fight there, and the Qs are chunking, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Levers do damage when they hit.
There's the Hawk shot. Rockboom and Biscotti working away at the mid lane. Looks like Ricky and Maddie both hovering top side. Turret is going to go down, so finally, first turret is going to go down. It is going to be that bot T1. Ricky indulated, still jockeying back and forth here. The bot lane looking a lot more even. Like you said, though, Gorica, slight edge to that Mythic off this fraction of getting that kill earlier. The gold right now, I mean, dead even. Objectives, though, are in favor of UC Irvine. Should be a second Rift Herald up here in about a minute and a half or so. So both of these teams probably just going to farm away and wait for that neutral to pop up.
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, like you said, objectives pretty far away from both sides. UC Irvine grabbing both dragons so far is going to be a pretty big buff to them moving in later into this game, as you're only looking at 2 more dragons straight. You could presumably have like a 27, 28-minute soul here if UC Irvine is really on top of these next few objective timers, and if, you know, someone like a Fed Akashi or a Fed Ricky doesn't just end them in a team fight, because all it takes is the right positioning and a perfect R from Akashi to really shut this down, whereas UC Irvine has a lot more individual plays to be made in the team fight.
Yeah, we do see Rockboom actually opting for the Gale Force as well, so getting a little bit more mobility on that Jinx instead of something like that Kraken Slayer, where yes, the damage might be a little better, but the thing with Jinx is if you can keep her alive, that is where her value lies. That is, yeah, it is a lot of damage. Already has Radiant Virtue, has Bombies, has the Swifties too, so this Mundo, this is a pretty, so I guess really big tanks play very well into Kennen. That seems to be the answer. Syod is a good answer to it. Mundo, seemingly a good answer, especially in the solo lanes as well. Mid lane push though, a lot of wards there from UCI. Saints working away to try to fight for vision control here. This Rift Herald should be up in just a few moments. And as far as the dragon, it looks like it's going to be an Infernal Drag as well. So, you know, one of the more better ones, one of the, you know, the more powerful ones, the more impactful ones, so to speak.
Yeah, nobody can tell me that more better is not an actual
more better.
So it's more better, it's funner to play.
More gooder.
I'm a big fan of that one. Mike Young, not a big fan of that cleaver in his back right there, stabbed in the back by Ricky Lafleur. Is Elated going to follow up on this one? That's where the Swifties really help out, is those slows from, I believe it's the Kennen W. Yeah. It's that kind of auto-tracking just damage proc that you get to anyone who has a stack on them already. That's going to slow them down just a little bit. As well as, I mean, there is an Ashe on the other side as well. Those Swifties really going to help out against that one.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe and Varus, I mean, the Varus has Swifties too, to be fair, so going to null and void the movement speed. Saints getting chunked away by these Ashe Ws and these Varus Qs, though, so the poke right now from UCI trying to be enough to set up one of these fights, possibly. Herald now going to be on the map right now. Obviously, both of these sides have their eyes set on that Herald, fighting for top side vision control here. Ricky already down to half HP, though. The Ashe are Akashi going to jump to one of those soldiers and dodge that one away. UCI, though, still looking to put some pressure on in the mid wave here. Going to see Gorica firing up one of those Qs. Not going to find home. Herald still sitting there. Shelly waiting for anyone to come try and go take that thing over. But the Saints right now getting perma shoved in mid. Don't really have any weight to get off this back foot. Just waiting to see if UCI breaks the line.
Yeah, and with this poke, UCI should be able to break this line. You have to force Biscotti to back. The second they see a Biscotti back, that should just mean go mode for them to head to this Rift Herald, and they head to the pit. You see the backs coming through. The Saints ready to give it up. They've been poked out too much in the mid lane. They can't really follow up on that one. Now you're looking towards this Infernal Drake a minute later. UC Irvine taking this Rift Herald with open arms as presumably they look to drop it mid or top here. One of these spots still with an outer turret left, unless you really want to get deep in that bot lane, possibly send Elated there or Cinnamon Bread. It looks like Mike Young is going to be the one who actually picked up the Eye of the Herald there.
Yeah, I would suspect they're probably going to bring it top lane and try to get some gold into Elated's back pocket, even though he has the Rocket Belt building toward that Dark Seal. But I think getting the Kennen a little bit more utility at this point would probably be the answer. I know the Ahri already has Leandries, has the T2 boots, so this Ahri already has a decent amount of playmaking, but if you want to get more damage funneled into this comp, I think Elated will probably be the way to go. But because they already have a free mid lane, I don't, would not be surprised to see Shelly make it appear appearance here, and that will be the case, but this Maokai are also going to make an appearance. The engage, though, going to be a little bit slow to follow the W, and Maddie's going to go ahead first. The Mega Death Rocket, the follow-up is going to be good, but for both sides, UCI is turning this one around. Mike Young's good for a kill there. Now Elated getting chased down by Ricky. Ricky looking for one more Q, not going to find it, but Gorica is the focus now. He is going back and forth with this entire Saints team. Look at these health bars. The E is going to land Akashi, looking for a way onto Gorica, trying to find the poke. He will. Gorica finally going down, and now Ricky and Cinnamon Bread tussling in front of this mid lane tower. TP online. Shelly with the second crash as well. So UCI, I think that's going to be a net positive all said and done.
Yeah, big team fight for themselves. Mike Young drops the Eye of the Herald, baits the rest of the team towards that top side river. He's able to pick up a kill onto Maddie off of that engage, as well as allow that Herald to really take that tower there. Biscotti in a tough position in the backline. Mike Young gets in. That's going to be the ultimate from Azir to stifle him, but Ricky caught between three members of UC Irvine with nobody to help him out in a low health pool. He's not going to be able to get much. They try to force that dragon just a little too early without fully resetting for themselves, and they're going to get punished for it.
Yeah, Ricky does end up dying, but do not look over how big of a play that was. He basically single-handedly stops Drag going over, stops Soul Point, and with the Baron up in a minute 20, forcing choice in a game like this, trying to play that cross map, ultimately ends up being one of the biggest parts of the game. But because they have the Cannon and the Varus, that is going to be more than enough damage. They should be able to burst down this dragon, will put themselves over on Soul Point. Rockboom gonna pick up this red buff here and try to really get this Jinx online. Having the Gale Force and these T2 boots, basically, you're just trying to get Rockboom online as soon as possible. You have CC with Maddie and Azir, or Maddie and Akashi rather. Once Rockboom hits that 3-4 item spike, then we can really start to see him shine.
Yeah, it's gonna be the main thing you're looking for is that IE, possibly that Runons or that Rapid Fire, depending on which Rockboom opts to go. Because typically in the Jinx builds, that's the one that they kind of flip out. Yeah. I mean, occasionally we have seen Rockboom actually go Collector second item. Yeah. But that was more than a few patches ago. I think that build route is kind of just, I think it's still viable.
The crit build's not as good. Everyone was building the crit build, yeah.
It was definitely, I think it was still viable, but I think they've just kind of given up on Collector now because you just want that overall damage rather than the execute itself, and you don't need the lethality necessarily in a lot of these situations. You almost want something like a Lord Doms against a lot of these teams, but he is going to pick up the Zeal, so that's presumably the Rapid Fire. We rarely see Rockboom actually go Runons, even though it's such an item that's so synonymous with Jinx. I think recently the extra range from the Rapid Fire has just been helping out a lot.
Yeah, especially, right, you're playing with the Milio, you're playing into Varus Ashe. You want to, it's tough to outrange those two champions, but you have the tools to kind of do so now. You can at least answer back with some pokes, so you're not taking just constant damage like we saw earlier, getting poked down in the mid lane time after time. Then you enter these fights, half HP or 75%. Hawk shot toward the Baron pit. Gonna try to spot out these Saints as they get vision control. Working on this top side, Baron obviously now onto the Rift as well. So it is going to be a jostle for the top side here. It looks like all these pings going out there. Saints looking to maybe set up some kind of trap here on Mike Young.
Yeah, and it's Soul Point for this Dragon in 3 minutes. Keep that in mind. That's a big one that UC Irvine's going to be looking towards. Maybe. Mike Young, is he in trouble? Because Maddie just got collapsed on by two players. There's a TP to follow up. The Everfrost is going to help a lot from Akashi, but Maddie, it falls insanely quickly for being a Maokai with Demonic Embrace. Ricky Lafleur chasing down Cinnamon Bread, waiting to really get their eyes on him. There's the Spirit Rush over the walls. He's going to dodge that cleaver, make it to safety. You found one and you're out, but the trade back for Mike Young, and Gorica also fell in the meantime.
Yeah, these two teams, they just like to fight, man. I know it usually takes a little bit of time. Then these teams get warmed up. Then we just start to see fight after fight. Even if it's a half fight over a neutral objective, we see Mike Young shows topside. The Saints set that trap. But the thing with Lee Sin is he's very good at getting in and very good at getting out of bad situations and sending other people across in those situations as well. But now we're going to see more of these items getting bought up. Akashi has worked his way to that Nashor's Tooth now, so looking for a little bit more ability power here, a little bit more ability haste, I believe, as well. So just trying to pop these abilities off as fast as possible. As you said, that Maokai going that tank build on top of Ricky. I mean, I did not expect Ricky to kind of be the carry in this game, but I mean, clearly Dr. Mundo's clearly got some nice stuff to him still.
Yeah, and that Radiant Virtue plays so well into his kit, right? You get all of those buffs when you pop R, and Mundo's is all about popping R, regenning, running everyone down, getting some extra AD out of it. It works super, super well into his just his character in general, and it's actually coming into this season, it's ended up being one of the champions that can actually use that Radiant Virtue very, very well. I mean, there's only a few that get a lot out of it, and I think they all kind of come in the top lane, the jungle, and the support lane.
Yeah, they're usually those kind of like, typically the meaty top laner jungle kind of setup there, but top side, maybe a Kashi, potentially a trap being set by Elated, and Cinnamon Bread here. Elated's gonna go in, there's the R, the shuffle to answer though. The charm, the combo is clean. That is gonna be a 2-man dive on the top side. That is gonna be top tower down. That is a nice little play from UC Irvine, trying to break up the pacing, trying to open up the map too, so they can try to slowly work their way toward this Baron.
Yeah. That's going to be one that you are not making it out of, Akashi, not unless you have a Zhonya's in your back pocket there. Light Pulse. Actually, it was Gorica to pop that flash. Okay, I looked at Light Pulse, I was like, wait, he's still got flash up. As Gorica flashes downwards away from that cleaver. I mean, the cleaver's scary, don't get me wrong. Ricky uses his own flash to try and find something like that, and the ultimate from Maddie was just a little bit too far away, and by the time it really hit that apex of its speed, these players were ready for it, and Gorica and Light Pulse make it away safely, although Ricky and the rest starting to move in on a few of them.
Ricky's like, I dare you to jump on me.
Yeah, you could be in for a rude awakening in that bush, though. Keep in mind, Ricky, you don't really know who's in there, and there's 3 players waiting for him, with a 4th moving down from Light Pulse there.
Ooh.
Umbral Glaive, so good on these supports. You get so much value out of the item just in terms of stats. Then you get the vision control as well. Maddie engages onto Gorica. Popped at the starting of the fight is Gorica. Mike Young, he's running for his dear life as the Milio buff, it's actually going to follow Maddie and Ricky. Rockboom, you know, hurting for a little bit of range there, but he does get a good chunk of damage down as well. Mike Young forced to hit these Raptors, forced to try and regen up as the Saints, they start peppering this Baron down. It's going down at a good, consistent rate here, but Mike Young, he might make it in time to fight this one out.
I think they know.
He needs to hit this Q to come over. Nature's Grasp, though, going to help out a lot there as he just moves straight to the Krugs.
Maokai R is so good and annoying because I think it's on like a 45 or 50 second cooldown. I think it's on like literally like
a quarterback.
That's me. I think it's actually on like a 60, 65 second cooldown. So for those neutral objectives, hey, the dragon's up. We're ready to take it. We're not going to need this Nature's Grasp in 45 seconds. We just want a team fight. We're setting up for the objective. Pop the ultimate, zone off Mike Young, especially with a Lee Sin. For all, last thing you know, he flies in there, kicks the dragon, lands the smite, kicks back out to the ward, and hops out the backside of the pit. So it is a very difficult thing to try to manage, but they do a good job of it there to play the safe route. It ends up paying dividends. Now we're going to see another turret, the Azir turret, getting self-scrapped there. Top side push for UCI and bot side actually. The Saints right now, at least you got the dragon, but now you got to start to work on these waves.
Yeah, you gotta start looking at the map a little bit. The macro game still being won from the side of UC Irvine. They've got all outer turrets down at this point. They've picked up some heralds. You've got 3 dragons. They're still on soul point here. Look at this engage every time. Cinnamon Bread finally makes it out of it, though. Biscotti forced to flash out. Mike Young collapsing on the rest of the team as Akashi is gonna fall. Maddie hanging on for dear life, but the healing not gonna do you much when there's 4 players chasing you down. 5 at that. This is going to be a rotation straight to that Baron, and with 2 key members out of the fight, UC Irvine should have no contention.
Yeah, I think this is kind of another case of, I don't want to say not enough damage because that engage from UC Irvine was pretty textbook and almost no holes in that game. Baron, though, started up down to about 2k HP. Ricky maybe looking for some kind of angle. Nothing going to be found. Rockboom trying to find an angle outside the pit. Ricky's getting tagged down. The E is going to finish him off. Now Rockboom, the next target. Arrow to the back. He's going down. Double kill for Gorica. Biscotti, the last one remaining. There's the Lee Sin Q. Lands. Going for the last kick there. Biscotti's going down. Mike Young takes him down. That is UCI opening up this game, looking to find these lane shoves in now, and they're going to set themselves up to begin to siege this base.
Huge play off of that Baron as you move in there, you grab it, and it all came off of a fumbled engage from the side of the Saints, actually. They tried to layer their CC. There was a split second where Cinnamon Bread flashed out, R'd away in response. He's out of there scot-free, and the rest of UC Irvine pinches them right around this red buff. You see one half the team come around Raptors, one half the team come from that bush closer to the inner turret, and they pinch Maddie and Akashi, 2 key picks to be able to set up that Baron. And you saw they tried to stop the Baron. The damage on to Ricky was just a little bit too much, and Rockboom not built up enough yet where he's able to just absolutely shred the inside of that Baron with the splash damage.
Yeah, Rockboom has to finish this IE and then maybe finish another item before the Saints can really start to look to turn these fights, because watching that last fight, watching Rockboom land rockets even onto the Ashe, wasn't doing a ton of damage. There was a lot of mitigation. It wasn't doing as much as you'd be hoping for, so they have to try to make sure, just like last game, if the Saints can take this to a 40-minute game, there is a very good chance they get back in it, but you have got to survive this Baron siege from UCI.
Yeah. 40 minutes, that's kind of like what you're looking for here. You're almost just looking for that Jinx to hit IE, as
literally
Rockboom should be getting close to it. He's picked up the BF sword, he's picked up that Cloak of Agility. I think that's 1,500, 1,400 gold away from that one. Yeah. Something like that.
14,
we'll do the quick math here around there, as he's just going to sit in mid, let these waves kind of come to him, possibly follow this wave up a little bit.
I haven't done much at the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, there hasn't been really much to do.
Yeah.
You know, they tried to set up bot lane. It was shut down a little bit. I think they did grab that tower from it. And now, what else do you do with the Baron? You siege, right? You send these buffed up minions in, try to get as much tower damage as possible. They're also using that pressure on the top side to set up for this Infernal Dragon, which is going to be their sole point.
Yeah. I would like to see, honestly, UCI could still throw a fight, but I think if they set up a nice 5v5 play here, they could end up taking, if they put 5 members into one lane, I think they could siege, possibly could have cracked an inhibitor with that Baron buff. I think they have a way more damage than they might realize right now, especially considering Jinx, pretty squishy, Akashi, pretty squishy, Maokai, not the most tanky. These are a lot of members that can be had, and they can be had quickly. This mid lane pressure still being put on there by Cinnamon Bread, trying to see if he can posture to land one of these charms. Looking for Rockboom or Sketty there, one of these bot lane members. But they're going to turn their eyes toward this Dragon Pit. Have to try to stop this Soul from UCI, because Soul right now, we said 40-minute game. Even at that point, the damage would be very, very hard to come back from. So they're going to give chase right now. UCI on the wrong side of the rift. But Kennen split pushing top lane.
Yeah, this is a big split up, actually. Akashi picked off from the rest of the team. Mike Young, a beautiful way to shut him down. He's already got a Guardian's Angel online. Keep that in mind.
Kennen damage.
Kennen has damage. You talked about it earlier, Jobin. And every single time that this Kennen is
Did that
in the
look
fight,
balanced to you?
the R pops, and so do the Saints. 4 players down. Maddie quick to follow.
Best game.
And the Nexus even quicker to follow after that one. You see 2 waves pushing in here. They have all the damage they need to finish this one off. Nobody's going to be there to even resist for 15 seconds, and we have ourselves a game 3 on our hands.
That's what I was saying. That Kennen wasn't so strong to the point where that was to be expected. That is how powerful that champ is right now. You run into a team fight, which they had great setup for. You pop R, you watch 3 health bars get absolutely deleted in the flash, and just there's no answer. UCI's engagements, they never really let the Saints have a moment of rest. They constantly pressured the top side. They were constantly trying to force the action, and right, with Ari Lee Sin, you want to get in there, you want to force the action. They did a great job of doing so, and in doing that, they have evened up the series.
Yeah, taking it 1-1 in a very strong game there. The Saints kind of had a foothold on that one, opposite to game 1 there, where they were the ones making the comeback. This time, UCI down a little bit at the starting, keep it even, and then you have 3 amazing team fights that open up the rest of your game. They set you up on Soul Point. They set you up for these amazing 5v5 team fights in the jungle, and that I don't know if it was a TP or just elated sprinting it down mid lane, but he changed that
so
final
literally,
fight.
that's the thing. Even if you can't TP, you can just get there in 2 seconds.
Yeah, you just
and once
click
you get there,
E and it's constantly back up, right? And you have insane movement speed to boot. But that's going to be 1-1. We're going to send it to a short break here, and we will catch you with all the action in game number 3. Getting back into game 3 here. We've got the Saints setting up for this draft. Going to be starting draft in a second here. Coming in from game 2, I mean, we've seen 2 vastly different games here in this series so far, but there's only one more left. One game to decide the victor of this series, who will be moving on to those semifinals in the Aegis Champions League. First band to come through is going to be that Jace pick from the Saints.
Yeah, we have seen the Jace band come through, I think, every single game so far, so it hasn't been in that first band slot. Saints obviously now playing on the blue side, so they're going to get first pick. Curious what that first pick is going to be. I believe UCI had first pick the last 2 games, ended up opting for that first pick Varus, I believe, both games. So curious if that's something the Saints maybe want to try to ban away. Not that Varus was necessarily the reason they lost either one of those games, but the champ is very strong. Gorka's obviously very adept on the champ, so something like that would make sense. But so far, pretty much standard fare, except during the Hybrid Digger ban came in later last game, but it was still there.
Yeah, it's a different order so far, but pretty well similar bans all around. Of course, Olaf, Tristana, we have seen this from UC Irvine every single game so far. A Wukong ban from the Saints is interesting because Wukong wasn't really the jungler that was giving them a problem, at least in comparison to the Lee Sin, but I don't think it was the Lee Sin on its own that was the issue there as well. And I'm not against banning out the Wukong. It is still a pretty strong pick at the moment.
Yeah, individually, Wukong is still probably the second best jungler in the game. So that Lee Sin pick, like you said, it takes a little bit more of that team coordination, but when typed together and when synergized with the right comp, that Lee Sin can produce deadly results. But Wukong is that safer typical ban, even though we did just see the Lee Sin. But Varus ban for UC Irvine actually this time. So maybe expecting the Saints to take that on that first pick, but if I'm the Saints, first pick probably the Jinx or something else. To be fair though, every pro play game I have seen, ADC is usually first pick, and if it's not like a Rakan or something at support, it's usually the Jinx. Sometimes we see the Aphelios, the Zeri, something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen a Varus first pick from UC Irvine for 2 games straight, right? They're going to ban it out this time, presumably because Saints have that first pick. Saints picking up that Jinx as we saw last game. Now, UC Irvine responds with that Gragas, a nice flex pick to take as your first pick, in my opinion.
If I was to guess, probably going to be a mid lane Gragas, although we do see we see a top mid jungle flex. The order that it gets picked is usually mid, top, then jungle, so I would guess it's going to be the mid lane until further notice. Not exactly sure, right, which one of these players has a deep mid lane pool, especially because Gragas, he's been good before, but he's really been meta defining, I guess, the last 2 to 3 months. Really, we've been seeing that pick rate get higher and higher, but it's going to be the Ezreal for Gorka once again, picking up that champ that we know he's very good on. I think, did he play it earlier this series?
Banned out twice in a row.
That's why he played the Varus twice, but the Saints are now saying, we're going to give you your pocket pick. We hopefully have an answer for that instead.
Yeah, they're going to pick up this Scion here, something that you had mentioned in the last game as a good check to Kennen in a lot of situations, and something that Ricky has been playing this since like season 11 at this point when I started casting this squad, when I first saw Ricky on the Rift there. Scion, I mean, he's been one of those comfort picks for a long time, and he works super, super well. You get CC, you get tankiness, you've got amazing engage, and you get a good laning phase out of it as well. A LeBlanc pickup from Akashi, something that we haven't seen since early in his seasons here. I think he's been playing a lot more of those control mages and kind of those scaly mid laners. We see a lot of the Victor. We've seen, you know, the Cass, now the Azir in this series. LeBlanc is a stark difference from that in terms of game plan.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Akashi's champ pool being deep. I mentioned it before the first game. Already, 3 different champs in this series alone. Like you said, usually it's the Victor, it's the Orianna, it was the Syndra for a good while. Might have played the Annie once or twice when she was really dominating the mid lane, but he's got a very deep champ pool. LeBlanc, another one of those champs. Very good. Get in, do a lot of burst damage, and get right back out. So quick burst, trying to get around, especially, you know, trying to set up a lot of these fights. You have a decent amount of CC chain you can get as well. But Karma Ezreal, pretty dynamic bot lane. You should be able to get the push with this lane. Just honestly, very safe, trying to farm up to get a couple of those items under your belt, and just very good escapability with both as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're just trying to play out this lane as, you know, a little pokey, a little bit safe, but you also have the engage when you need it. You have the root from the Karma. You have all of those empowered abilities from the Karma. In general, it provides so much utility to that bot lane. It's a reason we've seen Ezreal Karma as a staple bot lane pick for more than a few seasons now. now. That 4th ban from UC Irvine. It's going to be the Thresh ban. They want to take away that Thresh Jinx combo in the bot lane. Now, seeing these picks from UC Irvine, Saints started to target that top lane a little bit with this Gwen ban.
Yeah, and Gwen is basically probably the best top laner that plays into these tanks. Gwen is kind of that biggest Cassante counter right now, plays very good into the Sion as well. So Gwen, taking her off the board, she can be a massive pain in the side and going in the side lanes, trying for the setup for these team fights. You know, hit the W, go immune, especially playing Jinx into Gwen. Have fun auto-attacking half the fight. It's going to be very difficult to find that sustained damage. So taking the Gwen off the board, definitely, I think, the right idea. But UCI going to take away Biscetti's Pike. So they've seen some Biscetti gameplay. They know how good he is on these engaged supports. So the Thresh Jinx, you know, Hook, Flay, Chompers, the classic combination. Pike, Biscetti's Pike is just nasty as hell. So they don't want to take any chances. They're going to take that one off the board. And Saints are going to answer, taking away the Forge God.
Yeah, continually hit that top lane with these bans. UC Irvine in response has mostly been targeting that support pick from Biscetti. And you see 2 hooks already taken out right now. The only few left going to be leaving that blitz at Nautilus. I mean, I guess technically someone like Renata has a hook as well, but I'm talking about hooks that we like to see here, the Nautilus pick. I love seeing Nautilus come through. You know, some people hate him, some people love him. Personally, I love any champion that is going to give me some nice aggressive plays on the screen here. You know, a huge reason why I'm very hyped about this Gragas pick from UC Irvine still as well.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Biscetti, I like seeing him. Obviously, he plays Enchanter supports extremely well, but I'd love to see him playing these engaged supports. He is super hyper aggressive. This bot lane, they love to fight 2v2, 3v3. Biscetti has done a great job of setting up Rock Boom, facilitating his ability to get excited, run all over the rift. But the rest of these picks, the Lilia pickup, so I think Maddie, I think this is actually one of his pocket picks. I think it is one of his better junglers, at least based on solo queue stats, if I'm remembering correctly. Haven't checked the OPGG in a while, especially as Lilia has, I don't want to say shifted out of the meta, just right. It's one of those niche champs for the most part. You don't see it quite as much, but there is a ton of utility in that kit. Being they have the ability to sleep, you have a wide AoE damage. Ahri Lee Sin, though, UCI says, we don't see any problems with this. We're going to run it back, but that definitely means Gragas is going to be top because Lee Sin is obviously going to be jungle. Yeah, Lee Sin's going to be jungle. Gragas is going to be top. So UCI, a little bit more of that front to back comp that we're used to seeing in the last little meta, but they have a lot of dive, a lot of ability to get on these single targets for the Saints. So name of the game, as per usual, keep Jinx alive.
Yeah, that's going to be what you're looking for as you move later into this game. We're seeing a 5-man push from UC Irvine towards that bot side. They're going to possibly try to take some vision in this bush, maybe even take a quick little kill here. Biscetti might be playing right into their hands. Don't want to place that ward. He's backing right up. He must have spotted out something, possibly Rock Boom from probably, River there. Spotted out 1 or 2 of them moving into that bush. Now it's just baits back and forth. He drops the ward in that deeper bush closer to his own tower. They're going to be safe for now from any kind of cheese early on from UC Irvine. Meanwhile, towards the top lane, they're able to get a little bit of deep vision in that jungle over near the Raptors.
This mid lane matchup, I'm actually very excited to see. 2 very high, I guess, skill-stealing champs in a way. Ahri a little bit less so because the Spirit Rush, a little bit more straightforward of those dashes. LeBlanc, though, it's a lot of mind gaming. It's a lot of kiting. It's a lot of powerful, explosive ability. Akashi actually takes Ignite in this lane as well with the Electrocute. So Akashi wants to fight. He wants to get his hands dirty. The Summoner spells and the Rune loadout tells you that. But fighting into an Ahri, always going to be tricky. LeBlanc is still going to be a good answer into it, though.
Yeah, LeBlanc, you have a lot of mobility, a lot of ways to kind of play around the Ahri. Any matchup like this, honestly, oftentimes just comes down to a skill matchup here. Which player can kind of outplay the other one? Ahri, a little bit more straightforward in terms of her abilities, in terms of her burst, but throw a player like Akashi on LeBlanc, you're going to see no difficulties in terms of combo difficulty there in the trades, as this is Akashi we're talking about.
I would say, yeah, right, face value, brand new player. LeBlanc, infinitely harder to play than Ahri. Akashi, like I said, this guy has literally played every single champ mid lane you could probably play. I think he would even take Rock Boom's Tristana to the mid lane if he was allowed to and if he wasn't banned away 24/7.
Yeah, no, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Tristana mid is something we've seen.
That's what I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised if,
when I think it was when Hail of Blades kind of dropped as a rune, as it was a little after that original rune rework there when Masteries got taken away. But yeah, it came through, and Tristana mid just became this you know, almost like assassin-like character where you can just blow people up with that bomb. For most of the series, though, not going to see any Tristana. 3 games banned away. Towards this bot lane. Take a look at this one. The wave is getting pushed in a little bit towards that UC Irvine tower, and it's kind of what you're going to see in terms of this bot lane. Gorica does not have the same kind of wave pressure, the same kind of push that you can get from a Jinx and a Nautilus with that Relic Shield as well.
They're also running Ashe Varus, and then they were running the most poke-heavy, and then Kog'Maw Varus, so they've been running those poke-heavy bot lanes. The Saints, though, going for the engage this time. Maddie's going to come down with the slam. It's going to burn the flash from Gorica. Empowered Q is going to land, but they're going to get a flash and a heal off the Ezreal, and the Saints, Maddie only burning his flash, so that is a great trade in the bot side. They're trying to open up these early game skirmishes. I guess since they're on delay, I can pull the curtain back. Maddie said if we play Lilia, like, I lose 1-1 to Lee Sin, but we can fight 3v3. We want to try to fight early in this game. We think we have the ability. We know we have the confidence. And like I said, once you get Biscetti on engaged supports, man, I feel like the game is just totally different.
100%. I mean, you've had this guy playing Milio for 2 games straight, and
played well, but less
worked
utility.
Very well. Yeah, it's just the fact of playing an Enchanter, right? You're playing for that long game. You're playing to buff your ADC, whereas now Biscetti's playing to get in there. He is going to be forced to burn up that flash. Hex Flash available for himself, of course, so he's not going to be too concerned about using that early. And a big thing from that early gank was Biscetti didn't burn that Ignite. Could it have possibly found them the kill onto Gorica? Yes, but keeping it up for the rest of these fights is going to be big. Gorica's low. He's had to burn both of his sums now. Biscetti and Rockboom have heal and ignite, a few combat sums that are going to help out a lot moving into this one. Elated with no mana. It's just forced away from the CS under his own tower as Ricky gets a free back off, picks up the cull. This is classic Ricky Sion. He's playing for that late game.
Yeah, and the good thing is with Maddie covering top, Ricky does not need to TP back to lane, so we can walk up there, keep that TP for potentially one of these team fights or to try to set up some other part of the map, try to get that XP. We're going to see Mike Young, though, working away at the top side here, taking away these golems, clearing things up there. Maddie as well, just clearing his top side camps right now, working over on the Gromp, these lanes, working on their first backs there, so getting reset here, taking a stroll back to their respective lanes. Maddie, though, chipping away at the Wolves, Akashi and Cinnamon Bread, almost like Crimson Bread. They fought a lot back and forth in the early game. They did a ton of damage to each other. Right now, though, still looking pretty even. Granted, those two champs are almost identical.
Yeah, it's kind of just how it ends up.
Yeah, there'll be a 200 CS 000 if nothing really happens around them.
Yeah, and it's all just going to take one good fight and one person to find these executions, to find these almost assassinations with these characters here as Cinnamon Bread. You know, he's looking for that charm, that chain CC combo. Akashi is looking for that. Your health bar gets chain CC comboed pretty well. That's how it feels against LeBlanc sometimes. You see her, and then you don't, and then you don't see much color for the next 30 seconds on your screen.
Good old gray screen.
Mike Young, they're going to shove out and force this dragon here as you see Rockboom and Biscetti forced under tower from a nice little wave there. Gorica and Light Pulse, they got a reset. They get a bit out there and a dragon. Now they head back to the bot lane, possibly for a gank here. Mike Young could be looking for this, but Biscetti and Rockboom, a little too smart for that. They know he's going to be close by. They're not going to push too far out of their tower. They kind of just shove the wave back in. Going to allow it to return to them as they get a nice back off, and we're still pretty even here in this bot lane. Yeah,
I will say the one thing I'm impressed with by UCI, and I think it was kind of the same last series we played them, their early game seems to be very strong. They are super objective oriented. I mean, getting a dragon at 6 minutes means that thing is on the rift and basically gone the second you get it. So, Maddie, gonna work the cross map here. No Rift Herald for just about a minute and change though, so he's gonna have to work away at the top camps here. It does get the top side scuttle though, so gonna basically, like I said, playing that cross map. Rockboom farming away alone in the bot lane right now, trying to get to that level 6. Same with Biscetti. Just want to get back, get a couple items under your belt, get some XP. Because the thing is too, for the side of UCI, it's a very squishy comp. So if the Saints can lock down any one of these members in a team fight, like honestly, both of these comps, it's gonna come down to like first couple team fights and how they're gonna play out.
It's gonna come down to who hits the first key piece of CC in a lot of these fights. Akashi, he's gonna be hitting that one up. Maddie doesn't want to burn that Drowsy just yet. He's towards that top side. And keep in mind with Mike Young putting a little bit of pressure and a little bit of effort into these lanes, as well as that Dragon, it's put him behind in CS. Maddie is going to be a good consistent 15 CS up on Mike Young now,
already
as long as he can keep his clear up. Yeah, this is interesting. A lane swap. It's going to be Greg is heading towards that bot side. I mean, this is what happens when you're playing a Scion into this, but that's a lot of poke to be given right back towards Light Pulse. Ricky LaFleur playing that Scion, you can almost soak some of this up being so tanky as you are. And now you look for a little support from your team. Akashi starts moving up. Cinnamon Bread follows. We could be seeing a bit of a fight here, but as long as they spot out Mike Young, they know they shouldn't be too concerned with it. Ricky LaFleur taking a lot of the heat as they try to start sneaking this Rift Herald, but they have to converge. They have to help out Ricky. The Super Mega Death Rocket all the way from mid there. That's going to hurt a little bit, but First Blood going to be picked up by Mike Young. Another one goes back to
Wow,
Ricky.
that damage! What?
Combo there. The R from Maddie, a nice W, and you layer on the damage, and boy, did Light Pulse just pop. That's going to be a 2-for-1 for the Saints as they set their sights on the Rift Herald.
That was nuts! That damage was insane! Oh, no bomba for Elated. Akashi flashes that one away. Did burn the Ignite, able to find that kill though. So the Saints, UCI, got to the top side first. They had Ricky isolated. The only problem is, it's a Scion. You might have him isolated. He is going to eat 4 to 5 waves of cooldowns. Still ends up flashing, reconnecting partially with the Saints. Draws them close enough to that team fight to get things going. And then honestly, Maddie Lilia is so good for team fighting. I really see both of these teams. I see a very clear vision, but the Saints right now just executing a little bit better in that fight.
Just a tad bit. Ricky LaFleur knows his limits. He soaks the heat when he needs it, and he falls when he needs it. You find a kill onto Ricky, he goes down. Cinnamon Bread gonna go down in this mid lane here as the chain CC from the rest. Is he actually gonna fall? Cinnamon Bread with almost 0 health to his name is gonna make it out alive, and Mike Young follows up on that attempted gank right there. That's a nice rocket from Rockboom to finish it off. Back and forth somehow. The kills stay in the lead for the Saints. Rockboom picks one up for himself.
And that's the great thing about Jinx. Rockboom doesn't even have to leave to find a kill to get XP. Just fire that thing mid lane when they realize that massive combo was landed over onto the side of Cinnamon Bread. So fire the rocket down mid. We see a couple of the angry B emotes. Cinnamon Bread probably not thrilled they caught that rocket to the face, but they're going to be able to TP back to lane if they decide. Try to not make sure they drop any XP. Yeah, TP's going to get burned there, so get back to wave there. Try to catch this cannon, catch the rest of this XP. But Akashi, two assists so far. Nice setup. Light Pulse is going to burn the flash. Going to see the True Shot Barrage. Chip down Rockboom just a little bit, but he is going to pop the heal. So going to be pretty much net even. And now Maddie waiting in the wings.
Akashi baits out that charm. Could mean he could get a little trade here, but Maddie in the bot lane is what we're looking at.
That wave
Mike Young comes to follow up as well, and this is going to dissuade the gank from Maddie a little bit. He didn't burn the R. He still has the Eye of the Herald available. They haven't committed much into this. They can just start looking towards somewhere else on the map. If Mike Young's going to be bot lane, Maddie, maybe look somewhere else. He starts that back up, but might want to actually refocus his sights towards this bot lane. However, this is a severe player disadvantage for the Saints right now, and they don't know just yet.
Yeah, they're trying to hold on, I think, to get either vision or control of this wave for the Dragon coming up in about 10 seconds here, 5 seconds rather. So, UCI, once again, the second these Dragons go up, they are already working. Look at all the vision they already have. They already have the entire bot side river pinked up, have the blue trinkets. Akashi, though, going for the combo. Elated is very low. Akashi might be able to finish the kill, but that Karma Shield going to be enough. Rockboom, though, from way downtown, sends a rocket to W. The engage is good, but Light Pulse answers back with the kill. Change from Akashi, not going to land. Maddie, very low health. Ricky looking to find that empowered Q, not going to land it. Now, UCI looking for the re-engage. Cinnamon Bread posturing with that Spirit Rush, trying to see if they can find anything. Nothing going to be found. UCI, though, going to find their second Dragon in only 12 minutes.
UCI, great way to shut down these engages. Elated, playing the Gragas perfectly. You soak up as much damage as you need to make it out of the fight. Akashi just shy of the damage he needed to take down Elated there. They flip it on its head. You find one good pick. Biscotti, that's a ton of engage down from the Saints. They don't really have much more to follow up.
Basically.
Yeah, it's all they're engaged pretty well. Barring a crazy Akashi chain or a four-man Maddie sleep, there's really not much else you can do here in terms of engage. You need Ricky set up in a bush, maybe a Ricky ultimate as well, but he didn't have it available for that fight, so taking out Biscotti essentially seals the deal for UC Irvine. And Saints, they aren't going to get too aggressive, especially with a gold lead. They don't want to give it away just for this. Hex Flash to come through. Mike Young getting followed up on. Not going to pop the Drowsy just yet. It is going to come through. That should be a kill to whoever decides they want it. Maddie is going to be the recipient of it. The Leandry's available. Dark Seal starting to stack up for both Maddie and Akashi here. Cinnamon Bread in a dangerous position. Not going to get rooted. Akashi, he's out.
I will say one thing too. I was going to mention it right before the fight, so it actually made me look pretty smart. But UCI, like I said, squishy comp, but Lee Sin, Ari, Ezreal, they can get out of places very, very quickly. Elated looking to get out of this topside gank though. Empowered Q, Flash is going to get burned though, so that is going to be a win for the Saints. Maddie right now, his presence is all over the Rift, making his presence known top, bot, mid. Now for the Saints though, it's making sure you don't fall too behind in the neutral objective game.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and it's one that kind of hurt them so much. You gave up an Ocean Dragon last game. You gave up 2 Infernals, which ended up turning into a Solar. I guess, I don't even know if they got the Soul at the end. I think they just ended off of the team fight that would have been Soul. But nonetheless, you're playing out these objectives. They did get the Rift Herald this time, so that's helping a lot with their gold lead, considering a lot of the kills have been more impactful towards UC Irvine. And you take a look at the CS numbers.
Biscotti's dead twice already.
Look at Gorica, man. This guy is just consistently ahead in CS on Rock Boom, and this is something we do not see players do often.
Yeah, on the Ezreal too, theoretically, you're right, the Ezreal has to, if they're trying to put pressure on him, you can try to get him out of lane. Speaking of getting out of lane, there's a nice little bone plating proc. Cinnamon Bread taking the Mega Death Rocket to the back. He will go back though. He will finally hit that ever so wanted recall. Rockboom Biscotti still getting shoved in here. Gonna see that Karma shield. This is why Karma Ezreal so damn good. Ezreal's squishy, but those empowered Karma abilities are no joke. That Q pops, and those other abilities can do a great job to shield up that Ezreal.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Rockboom and Biscotti, right? You have your engage, you have your Nautilus combo, and once Rockboom really gets that attack speed stacked up, he can start doing damage. But in terms of poke, in terms of just threat and pressure under this tower, Gorica and Light Pulse are going to be the ones to take the lead in a lot of these fights. Ricky LaFleur getting chunked down, but he's not concerned. He's just here to soak up the aggro as the rest of the team, this as Karma bot lane, they start moving towards that mid. Meanwhile, could be another rift to be found from the Saints, but they realize they've been spotted out. They realize they have a better chance if they can find a kill onto Elated here. Canceled out with the Bomba. That's going to save him for a second there, but Rockboom picks up number 2 for himself. That's going to bring him a little bit closer to that gap in Gorica's gold.
Should be Rift Herald, I think. UCI could potentially look to contest, but a lot of high health bars. True Shot Barrage is going to help out. That's going to help just a little bit. Yeah, at least get some chip damage onto most of the team there. Rift Herald still getting chunked down by the Saints. Akashi looking for some angle to kind of zap in and zap out there. The Saints looking to finish this one. It's going to be the steal for Mike Young, though, the kick in, the smite. That is going to be a leashed Herald over to UC Irvine. Going to steal that one away from under the Saints' noses. So the Saints may have found a kill, but UCI will take another objective.
Yeah, Maddie down with that smite. He's not able to hit that one. Mike Young comes in, steals it at around 1,000. Somebody was able to pick it up there, I believe. I think it's Elated who grabbed that one. Biscotti and Ricky trying their best to stop the pickup of that eye, but in the end, UC Irvine finds it. They can reset and they can just be comfortable knowing that they grabbed that objective away from the Saints, knowing that they didn't really have to expend too much to do it, and now they move back to typical gameplay positions. You start sending your mid laner towards that top lane this time, however, as the Saints are looking to push out this mid, maybe look towards that dragon that's going to be up in 20 seconds here. You don't want to get another situation.
At 17 minutes.
This is exactly like last game. UC Irvine was on Soul Point at around 23 minutes, I think it was in that game. Very, very early to have 3 dragons down. Elated, engaged on, but the Bomba back into the team. Biscotti absolutely disappears. A huge set of Drowsies from the side of Maddie, but there's nothing to follow up onto it. The side of UC Irvine Irvine. Their health bars are low, but there's not much threat to them just yet. Not unless Ricky hits an absolutely monster Q. Rockboom starts it up. That's how these team fights start. Rockboom, he's excited now on the Jinx. Ricky moving in. Akashi seeing if he can finish off Elated. He is going to find that kill. A huge root onto Cinnamon Bread. Cinnamon Bread chased down all the way through his tower. Maddie finds it in the end. The war of attrition is won out by the longer range and the damage over time from the Saints. A double kill over to Rockboom and a double kill over to Maddie.
A 5-for-1 for the Saints, and that is what happens when Jinx gets excited. The damage, the consistent CC chain. Akashi, perfect positioning on the flank, sets up so nicely right in front of that mid tower. Ends up bumping up over onto UCI. So much damage. And once Rockboom gets going around, and I was going to say, the Saints were losing every objective fight. They were still up about 3k gold before that fight. Rockboom was still, I think, either even or slightly ahead in gold.
He was actually below Gorica's gold during that Rift Herald fight earlier.
Yeah, I see. Like, so the stats don't necessarily tell the whole story, because right, it seems like they were theoretically behind in spots, but Maddie has consistently been ahead in gold the entire game. I mean, 306 already. Rockboom 5-0-2. A couple nice mega death rockets. That is exactly right. Harkens back to game 1. The Saints give away tons of objective control, or rather game 2. They have a great mid game. They end up turning it on toward the end, but looking like they're going to try to turn it on towards Cinnamon Bread once more. The Everfrost, the Spirit Rush is going to be enough to get away. Akashi's not giving up though. Electrocute proc, trying to land a few more abilities, going to dodge that charm, but Cinnamon Bread, Spirit Rush will get away.
So slippery on that Ari.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of what we talked about in that mid lane. It comes down to a skill matchup when the matchup itself literally boils down to, does Cinnamon Bread hit their charm, or does Akashi hit their hook? And that's pretty well it, or hit those chains. Forget about the chains. Akashi teams up with Maddie there for a kill in the bot side. Oh my lord, pandemonium in the mid lane. Boschetti, insta aggression, insta engage under the tower there. Mike Young close to follow up. Maddie is unstoppable as we see kills left, right, and center for the Saints. 14-5 here in game 3. The Saints looking unstoppable at 20 minutes. Rockboom on go mode.
He was 2-0-1, I believe, at the 12-minute mark of the game. 7-0-4. He had a Gale Force and T2 boots. All of a sudden, this next back R2 is going to provide so much damage. And we talked about I said it was about a 2 or 3k gold lead at that same Herald fight. It has now spiraled to the 8,000 range, just like that. And guess what? All the gold is probably in the 2 places that you want it. You want it with Maddie, and you want it with Rockboom, and you've got it in both of those places. Akashi as well, staying at least even, or he's ahead in the mid lane right now. Has the Everfrost working toward, I believe it's going to be that Shadow Flame as well. So going to see a lot of damage from the side of the Saints. And of course, Ricky, Heartsteel, Sunfire, he is going to be so tricky to take down.
That's the Scion, that's the classic. The one thing I have seen though is he went Heartsteel second item, not really, you know, giving him presumably the time to start stacking it up.
Sunfire stacks at least.
Yeah, that is true. Boschetti gets in on there. There is a good chunk of damage in the back line, but Rockboom is down for 1,000 gold shut down over to Mike Young. Instantly grabbed back by Maddie. Ricky LaFleur in on this TP. Could be the disengage for now, but Maddie wants to keep chunking him down.
Maddie does so much damage. Even when it was like that first fight at like level 4, I was like, Lilia hits hard, man. Serious.
The gank bot lane where Gorica disappeared, and if Boschetti hit that ignite, Gorica was 100% dead.
I didn't realize Lilia actually apparently hits like a truck. Granted, 6:06 at 21 minutes. A lot of junglers would probably hit pretty hard in this situation, but
most gold in the game. That does help a little bit.
True, yeah. 1,400 gold lead over Mike Young. But, and to be fair, that was after Mike Young. Is he going for GA again?
He loves this GA pick.
I will say, the last 2 games, understandable. This game, it definitely feels like it's way too early.
I'm not going to lie, though. Yeah, very early just in general. The last 2 games, not only did the GA feel early, typically you see players leave that to the last item. Like, forget about that. Cinnamon Bread might be on his last breath here, but a big save there. Like you said, Mike Young dashes in with that shield to help out his teammate there. But I want to go back to this GA second item pick, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't think GA is very stat efficient in terms of like gold and everything, right?
It's not something anyone does.
Yeah, it's
you don't rush
very
GA
unorthodox right now, and realistically, he hasn't been getting that much value out of it. Anytime he's been actually had his GA popped. It's going to be a weird spot in this jungle. This is the exact same spot we saw last game. He dropped that first GA pop there, and it's not that I don't like the item buy, it's that I don't feel like it's getting enough value, right? You buy GA for the passive, you're buying GA for the passive, and you want that gold in other places early on in this game, yeah.
Yeah, why play for the passive if you can just kill the other team? Not that, right? It still inherently has value, but if you can invest that into damage, into even being more tanky, so you have a little bit more, you know, you can get that extra wave of cooldowns, try to get that extra wave of disengage. So, granted, he's much better than I will ever be, so he might have an idea. But from everything I've seen, you know, I don't think I'm that uneducated. It definitely seems a little bit early for the GA. Maybe that's something that the Saints can try to take advantage of now. Maybe try to get the GA, or to be fair,
if you pop it,
if there's a dragon fight or something too.
5 minutes where Mike Young is just has essentially a wasted gold worth of items. Akashi, he's going to get in there. He's rooted up himself. That could be a good chunk of damage. GA, will it be popped in the end? The Ignite ticking down, and there goes the GA. Set up the traps right on top, rooted back up, and in that exact same
good
spot
thing the GA worked.
Last game, Mike Young found himself in the same situation. Good thing the GA works, I guess. Now you've got 40 attack damage and 40 armor for what? As your second item. Realistically, I mean,
I just don't get it.
I think you picked up so much. The thing is that you picked up so much momentum from your 1,000 gold shutdown onto Rock Boom, and you put it into a Guardian's Angel, not a Black Cleaver.
It would have been such a big spike.
And meanwhile, all over the map, we're seeing this comp work absolute wonders as Ricky finds the knock-up. Akashi follows up with his own CC. Now they get to move towards this Infernal Drake. It's going to be... I mean, this is where we're at. UC Irvine, 7 minutes ago, is up 2 Drakes, even in gold and not too far down in kills.
Fresh off 1,000 gold shutdown.
Yeah, now they have objective bounties for themselves. They're that far down in gold that the game is giving them extra. It's just insane how this game has flipped on its head, and it's all because of a few key team fights. And it's interesting too because we don't see as many 5-man team wipes as we have seen pre-20 minute in this game. But it looks like we could have a dragon scuffle here. Can they fight it? That's the question. Akashi in the back line. He's going to get comboed out. Won't be able to make it out in time, but the dragon is traded out. Yeah,
the one thing, I guess, for UCI, the GA second, I guess theoretically it makes sense if Ezreal is ahead, if Ari is ahead, if your Gragas has a couple more damage items or something like that, maybe I can see it because then you're focused on utility. But Ari, currently sitting behind, only has the Leandries, no sacks in the Dark Steel. Ezreal, still fighting at 2 items, still trying to keep up with an 8, 1, and 5 Jinx. So just, I think it's a little bit early. I mean, right, it's going to be on cooldown in another 2.5 minutes or so. So he'll get that second chance to use it as the game goes on. But right there, that was a nice pick by the side of UC Irvine. Akashi, I think, a little bit too aggressive there. Didn't have the vision they wanted. Ultimately, though, topside Siege is going to be the answer.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking about now, too, is you've got a Lilia and a LeBlanc.
Maddie's 4 levels up. I just looked.
Yeah, that is 4. Huge. But not to mention, that GA doesn't give you any MR. You're just going to get popped by Maddie and Akashi all game. It's exactly what happened last team fight. Rockboom and Ricky were trying to just load in as much AD damage as they could. Not really phasing Mike Young, but that last little hit from Akashi and Maddie there ticked away that health bar, burnt up that Guardian's Angel. Now we're back to a bit of a stalemate here on the map as the Saints try to gain some better positioning and try to deny UC Irvine from grabbing this objective bounty mid. Although realistically, you want to give them the outer turret, if anything, rather than leaving that bot turret possibly exposed and left open, because that's going to be a 400 objective bounty, if I'm not mistaken.
Akashi
in the bot
again.
Lane. Tough position to be in.
Yeah, this is going to be really tough for Akashi. It's the combo. He is going down once again. Caught overextending in the bot lane. The Saints, though, maybe trying to get the trap going now. They're trying to spring the trap on him. Ricky, the first one to show Piscetti. Next one here. Hook's going to go. Chain CC. Maddie's here for the fight, too. Looking to find the slam. Womba knocks him back, though, down the bot lane. So they're going to turn their heads to the left. They're going to set their sights on light poles. Rock Boom right between the eyes with the death rocket. That is going to be another kill to the Jinx. Objective bounty over to UCI, but the Saints still finding ways to get things back, even when it's a play that, you know, maybe they'd like to have back.
Listen, Rockboom, IE is online now. He's critting for 570 to
Stopwatch
600
wow.
with his minigun. That's not even rocket damage to account for just yet. He's got the demolished.
These towers are with
is
Jinx and Scion.
massive.
These towers are cooked.
Yeah, Mike Young over towards that bot side. He's kind of just cleared out this bot side of the jungle, trying to take something away from Maddie, but the Saints aren't concerned. The Saints are like, we just grabbed a tower bot. You've got nothing left top lane. We've set up all these waves to be pretty well pushed into you guys as well. As we look at, I mean, objectives up in 2 minutes, that's pretty much what you're waiting for, is objectives now. The Saints need an objective to funnel UC Irvine into a fight, because UC Irvine's not going to willingly fight anymore.
Yeah, I think Mike Young's GA is about to come online in just a few seconds here, so that it's going to be another one of those tools they could possibly use. Gourd Drinker going to be back up as well. But, I mean, just look at Maddie's build. 10 stacks on the Medjais, Zhonya's, Leandri's, Rylai's already, obviously has the T2 boots. Oh, Mike Young catching a stray rocket there from Rockboom from that bot side. Ricky working away at this top, or the mid right now. Saints right now, you're trying to open up the map. You want to get deep vision in the jungle on either side. You want to make sure you get this game in a good enough state where one Baron could potentially end up closing things down. Ricky, let him land the big Q there. The hook's going to go through. That is going to be a lot of damage. Oh my goodness. Cinnamon Bread, 100-0. Rockboom is the one to blame. The Saints now walking this one down mid lane. This tower surely falling in just a moment. It will be the first one to fall. The inhibitor, the next on the chopping block. That one is going to fall. Saints probably going to walk away more than happy, elated. Does have the split push going in the bot side.
Baron bounty, that's big.
Yeah, drag up in 1 minute, Baron up in 120, but a great job by UCI to make sure they weren't getting, it was going to be something for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you get a good chunk of gold to the team. I mean, you're already down so much. It's not going to, suddenly boost you into winning this game. But what it does do is slowly close that gap. And you got to play very good positioning. Now, in terms of turrets, you're pretty well evened out on that bot side. And the map just starting to fall from both sides. We got 4 turrets from UC Irvine taken down, 7 turrets that the Saints have absolutely slaughtered so far, and now they set their sights on the base as there's an inhibitor popped. And that's going to be in that mid wave is pretty well perma-pushed as these objectives come up in this next 30 seconds here. The interesting thing is that Baron and Infernal are coming up at very similar times, only 10 seconds apart from each other. It's going to mean one of these teams might have to make a decision. There's a possibility that UC Irvine could just slam whichever objective the Saints aren't at and take it for themselves. Yeah. However, the Saints, I think you want the Infernal here. It'll push you to Soul Point. You think? Quad Infernal on Rockboom right now? Imagine it.
True. The good thing is for them, too, they're going to get both, it looks like, with no contestation. Because the thing is, UCI takes a 5v5 with the Saints. They're getting slapped. There is no question about it. They are going to get stat checked. Maddie and Mike Young, the difference is all there. Maddie is going to put these health bars on life support at the drop of a hat. Obviously, Rockboom, a 2-level lead in that bot side already. He's working his way toward a full build as we speak. 3 Infernal Drakes, as you said, going to be 4. UCI right now, I think this game is on a very short timer, and they've got to make work happen. But once again, Ari is going to be the first victim blown up. Baron should go over to the Saints now. I cannot imagine, even 5v5 they would try it. 5v4 surely would be suicide.
Poor Cinnamon Bread this game, man.
Honestly, hit by every death rocket, basically just caught it, as Ari too.
All series too has been super slippery on this Ari and has actually been giving a lot of resistance towards Akashi in that mid lane and just have drawn the short end of the stick this game. Elated. Will he get away in time? Look at Maddie flying in on the Lilia. Oh, he's going to spam that emote, secure that one up. That's going to be 2 out of 5 players down for UC Irvine. Now, you've got a Baron available. You've got 3 to 4 players stacked up towards this top lane. You've got Ricky looking mid, and you've got a base that is looking nice and juicy for the Saints.
So now is the time where we start to question the GA a little bit more, because how often do you see a jungler 4 levels down at 25 minutes? Not very often. The Saints, I set on the base. Ricky looking for the boss special on some of these members. He's going to get charmed, but it's a Scion, baby. He's going to eat all those cooldowns. Mike Young's going to flash to safety. The GA's getting popped. Tower shots ringing off through the night. The Saints, though, working on the Nexus. The Demolish proc about to hit. 1 tower down. Ricky's eating that charm once again. These towers, they are not long for the Rift. They are getting dangerously low. Now it is an open Nexus. It is UCI fighting for their ACL lives. Maddie, Biscotti, Rock Boom breathing down their necks right now. The TP coming in on the backside there. Ricky gonna work his way to the front line. That is gonna be a knock. Biscotti finds the engage. Rock Boom takes down Gorka. UCI retreating into the Nexus. There is no hope. There is no prayer. There is nothing that can stop the Saints. Rock Boom's got another 3-piece with the soda, and the Saints have a 2-1 win in the ACL in the quarterfinals.
Taking down your demons from the second game there. A few of those players that absolutely popped off. I mean, Maddie had, granted, a very slow Maokai game, comes in on Lilia and just absolutely bodies the team fights left and right.
That damage was
And you
nuts.
can't forget about the Rock Boom show right there. That's going to be a 2-1 win, moving these Saints members on to the semifinals of the Aegis Champion League. And we're going to wait for a quick sec here because we could possibly have an interview coming in with one or two of these players here. We're going to have to see how the setup ends up being, but overall, a beautiful series to watch. It's been a while since we've been on here together and casted some League, and I love playoff season in general because it just means we are in for banger series after banger series, and League of Legends holds a special place in my heart when it comes to those nail-biter games right there.
Well, that's why it's great, too, because all three of our games looked so, besides some of the objective timings, everything looked so different. The comps were different for the most part. The games were totally different. But that being said, I do think we're going to go drag Rock Boom off the stage in just a minute. So we're going to cut it to another break. We're going to go grab Rock Boom, bring him in here, and you guys get to hear from him about the big win. And welcome back in, everybody. We had a nice little a 2-1 series victory in the Aegis Champions League. Saints varsity end up taking down UCI in that best of 3. And honestly, it was a bit of a back and forth roller coaster, nail biter kind of series. But you've seen his face on here the last couple weeks. He gives us some of the best interview content. We have Rockman with us once again. And I guess today, you guys have played UCI before. You found some success before. Were there any surprises today in the draft or how the games went? Because the games were a little bit, I guess, weirder than what we're used to seeing in this meta and kind of how the game is.
They came in with a pretty good plan because I don't want to spoil it, but we pretty much play like engage, front to back sort of comps, right? And all 3 games they played a very poke, disengage style, and it gave us a little bit of struggle. But by game 3, we kind of figured out how to deal with it, and we switched up our drafts a little bit, got some easier to execute engage champions, and then we were able to stomp them game 3, which was good. And I don't think we played against them with me and Akashi. Because I think we played against them in NACL.
Yes,
you definitely
do
played
remember
in that
the
game.
NACL Open qualifiers.
Oh no, we played them twice.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, we played them once with me.
Yeah, first split. I think you.
Yeah,
guys
that was
them.
when we Scion in the bush.
The level 1 Scion in the bot lane bush. Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of.
That's a beautiful play.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I actually remember that game. We cheesed them level 1, and then I just snowballed on Tristana, and then that game went pretty easily. Yeah. And then the second time we played them, me and Akashi weren't there, so I didn't really look too much
clearly
into it.
they were remembering that game because they banned Tristana all 3 games.
And they sent 5 members. You guys couldn't see, maybe you saw the one game. They sent 5 members to the bot side bush. I think the last game you were like spinning around in the river. I don't know if you saw, but they sent 5 people and just sat in the bot lane bush because they knew Ricky was on Scion, and they just sat there for like 20 seconds.
they were expecting that.
Yeah, they went in the same bush that
No
he queued in the
way.
far side bush close to their tower. 5 of them sat in there waiting for like 10 seconds, waiting to see.
They had PTSD. From
Yeah, so it was just funny. I
would
noticed
too.
that.
Oh, they were drafting like they actually had a good draft plan because even like their bot lanes they drafted really like annoying poke heavy play for lane champs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Karma Ezreal,
like the first 2 games I feel like I couldn't even play laning phase.
Yeah.
And then second one the lane should have been harder but they didn't play it that well and me and Busquetti played the lane really well. Like we got Prio which was really good.
Yeah.
And then we used that to kind of snowball the rest of the lane.
Yeah. Oh, I guess go ahead.
The AP Kog'Maw support was like, it was surprising to see just how threatening it was in lane. Like, how did you end up like dealing with that? I mean, you guys lost turret pretty early. Was it just like play for that 40 minutes, play for that Ashe scaling?
It was pretty annoying. Like in that lane, we kind of need to play really together, me and the support. So like when Ashe walks up, we need to trade 2 autos for 1 and kind of space the Varus. So we didn't really do that well, and that's kind of why the lane went really badly. And honestly, the biggest thing I remember from that Kog'Maw AP, like. I don't even think his lane was that oppressive. It was just more the double ranged.
Yeah.
The double range. And then I remember I was at Baron and I was hitting Baron like full HP and I'm just getting Kog'Maw ulted and E. Next thing I know, I'm like 1 HP. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, there was
that was like the most annoying part of the champ. I don't think it was that good though.
Alone, there was 2 separate Baron flips for both you and UC Irvine back one another, and each of them completely swung the game in a different direction. It was wild.
Yeah, that game 1 was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, was there any, I guess, like distinct adjustments from game 1? Because like we said, the drafts, they had a pretty similar draft style. We saw the Lee Sin get picked up a couple times and the Aura get picked up a few times. But was there anything from game 1 to game 2 to game 3 as far as like draft that's like, okay, we need, I guess, well, I figure banning away the Varus. Well, they banned away the Varus game 3, actually. I was going to say, was there anything you guys were like, okay, after the first 2 games, we have to focus on banning these champs away? Or was there something you're like, okay, maybe we're focusing our energy in the wrong way? Because, right, Maddie, I'm guessing the Lily is a pocket pick because he pulled that thing out.
Yeah.
And we were both, our jaws were on the floor by level 4. He was just dominating all over every single lane.
You know, Lilia just got buffed.
The damage
that's
was...
like Maddie keeps saying it's like his pocket pick. People have to permaban it into him. People got to be scared of his Lilia. So we were like, we trust you. Pull it out. Just got buffed. He said it was like, this is like the perfect game for it. Like, I see a really good angle here. We're like, okay, we trust you. And then he actually played really well in Lilia. I was honestly surprised. Like, he was one-shotting people.
We both said that at like level 4 he
abilities.
popped 2 people, and I was like, he has a lost chapter and he one-shot.
Yeah, when he was top lane, right? He just, even bot lane, he flashed on Ezreal, just deleted him. Like, if Nautilus ignited, he would have died.
Yeah, you literally said that.
I was a little butthurt about that. No ignite there. But at the same time, like, are you even expecting that kill pressure through the heal and the flash as well?
Yeah,
Ezreal burns both sums there.
Yeah, I don't think we expected the damage. Also, a little bit bad communication on Maddie because he didn't call it. He didn't call he was gonna flash in there.
Listen, you gotta go for it.
Yeah, no, I respect it. It was good. He also chunked him out, which our lane's pretty, like, in
Makes
theory,
it
pretty
easy,
bad.
yeah.
So then we were just able to get prio for the river, and then I was able to crash, and then the hard early lane was so easy because we played it really well.
Yeah. I think it was definitely clear, like, the last couple of games. The early game got a little bit better, and you guys fell behind in some of the objectives, but you played for the scaling. I mean, that last game, you were basically doing what you wanted on Jinx. It was fire R down mid lane, probably find a kill onto the RE, run around the rest of the map, and then take down everybody else. But it was a great series, I'm sure, right? I guess we'll do, you guys are going to be in the semifinals of the Aegis League now. That's for a bunch of prize money and stuff at the end of the year, I'm assuming. So hopefully trying to win that one out. But I guess any final words to any potential teams, whether it's ACL, CLAW, anyone you got your sights set on, or just, I guess, parting words for anyone out there?
Just want to say one thing. I was a sniper with these Jinx ults today.
I don't think
Like, I was nailing everyone.
queued in on production halfway through the game, and he was like, "I don't think Rock Boom has missed." And
Yeah, my Jinx ults are kind of nasty, but I'm not really scared of any teams. I just want to beat Maryville. That's all I care about. Because they beat me in the NACE finals.
Oh, yeah.
They beat me in the NACL finals with my other team. We're gonna play them again in the NACE finals, and then hopefully, if all goes as planned, we play them in top 8. So we gotta just try to beat them in NACE finals. Even if we lose, we'll learn how they play. We'll review all their games and stuff, and then all we care about is going to LA. That is like our main goal. Like we kind of, like this ACL league was kind of just like practice,
Like a tune-up almost?
Yeah, like practice, make some money, because I think there's decent money. I don't know if it's that much. I don't really have no idea. But we're just trying to get the finals in this.
play.
Yeah, NACE. We were playing against Maryville, so that's gonna be really excited, and hopefully. Kind of rigged that they took top 8 from CeeLo, but it's whatever.
You can blame Steve Alpha.
They got rid of the LA trip in top 8, so now we got to beat Maryville to have that LA trip. So I'm coming for Maryville. I'm coming for you guys. Hope you're watching this, Scary Jerry. I'm coming for you.
Big words out of the kid, but he has been performing the entire semester. The team has been performing, so lots of high expectations, but reasonable ones at that. So with that being said, the Saints do take down UC Irvine 2-1 in the quarterfinal match of the ACL. We're going to cut it off for now, though. Shout out to everybody in the back. We had a big, nice crew today, or rather, skeleton crew, so to speak, but me and Josh, always happy to hold things down. Always good to get Rock Boom on the desk. Hopefully, we'll get him back when they're preparing for some kind of Los Angeles trip or NACE finals trip nonetheless. But we're going to throw that. That'll be the end of the night. Shout out to the league team. Shout out to Rock Boom. And take care. Have a good night.